2024. 3 wins early, including the Daytona 500 in February, set them up for the season and got them into the playoffs. But the last summer months have not been so kind, although last week we saw some signs of improvement. Second place to Ross Chastain at Kansas. 3 of his last 4 victories have come from 18th on the grid. Today he starts 16th at a track where the 24 has won on multiple occasions.
So calm and cool under pressure, Ryan Blaney has earned the nickname 007. His 3 Talladega wins have all come in photo finishes, winning by an eyelash, 2 of them by .007 seconds. Blaney comes into Talladega once again, looking to propel a second straight championship run at one of his best tracks, at a drafting track where Blaney is one of the best.
It's been a season to forget in 2024 for Kyle Busch, still searching for a trip to victory lane to continue his winning streak. He's got close on multiple occasions, including being in the mix last week at Kansas. Can the Talladega wildcard produce the win that keeps the streak going today for Kyle Busch?
The volatile and wide-open nature of superspeedway racing has created plenty of first-time winners in the past. It was just a handful of weeks ago that Harrison Burton did just that with an upset win at Daytona. Today at Talladega, there are many candidates to claim their first win in upset fashion, like teammates Josh Berry and Ryan Preece, both up front in the late laps at Daytona. For Berry, it resulted in a sideways and upside-down crash. What about Todd Gilliland for Front Row Motorsports? Once again starting at the front with a chance to shock the world. Or maybe Carson Hocevar off of a terrific rookie season with strong runs throughout. Will this be his day? It could be a first-time feat for someone at Talladega.
There will be bruised sheet metal and bruised egos by the time this day is done.
It's time to drop the hammer in the NASCAR playoffs.
They are 3 by 3 by 3.
4 wide.
4 wide for the lead. Right through the center. 5 wide.
The big bold move. That was a bit rude.
Now contact and around.
Oh, he flips. End over end.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Side by side, wheel to wheel.
But you got one on him.
What a move.
Whoa.
And they all synced it. Oh my goodness. How physical is it going to get for the win?
If you're not on the edge of your seat, make sure you get there.
One final frantic lap for the win.
Side by side for the win.
It's 3 wide for the lead, heading towards the checkers.
Who's it going to be at the line? At the line, it's a photo finish.
I don't believe it.
Unbelievable. What in the wide world of sports are we watching? Plenty of those highlights just heard have come from past races at Talladega, because this is a racetrack that produces a lot of highlight moments. We're ready to go then. The Alabama 500 from the Talladega Superspeedway cars are already on the racetrack and ready for parade and pace laps that have already gotten started. So let's go ahead and give you the starting grid for today's race. Starting grid 40 cars strong. J.J. Yaley starts 40th. Zane Smith rolls off 39th. B.J. McLeod begins from 38th. Remember, he led laps here in the spring. 37th is Carson Hocevar. Chase Briscoe for Stewart-Haas Racing is 36th. Justin Haley starts from 35th. Cody Ware in the Arby's Ford rolls off 34th. And 33rd is Anthony Alfredo.
32nd of Daytona 500 winner from a couple of years ago, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., just behind Atlanta winner from earlier on this year, Daniel Suarez. Eric Jones comes back to the site of his spring crash. He starts 30th for the Dollar Tree Tour, just behind his teammate, John Hunter Nemechek for Legacy Motor Club. Corey LaJoie is 28th, last week's winner from Chastain 27th. And it's Darrell Wallace Jr. He got his first NASCAR Cup Series victory here a couple of years ago in that rain-shortened race. He's 26th, just behind AJ Allmendinger in the Strive Chevrolet.
24th is Martin Truex Jr., never having a Cup Series win on a super speedway. Today's his last chance as a full-time driver. Alex Bowman starts 23rd. 22nd is Noah Gragson. Christopher Bell rolls off 21st. 20th is Chris Buescher. Josh Berry 19th. Ryan Preece 18th. And starting 17th is Shane Van Gisbergen.
16th is William Byron, second place last week, 2014 for Hendrick Motorsports. Ty Gibbs 15th, Tyler Reddick is 14th, the two Monster Energy cars lining up next to each other on the grid. Brad Keselowski 13th, he's been highlight reeled here at Talladega over the last few years. Kyle Larson is 12th, HendrickCars.com Chevrolet, and Alex Bowman just ahead of him, his teammate in Kelly Blue Brooks colours for the 48 team this week. Good qualifying for Daniel Hemrick, he starts 10th. Harrison Burton, the Daytona winner from the summer, is 9th.
Starting 8th is Denny Hamlin. 7th is Austin Dillon. 6th starter is Joey Logano alongside his teammate Ryan Blaney. Starting 4th is Kyle Busch. 3rd, Todd Gilliland. 2nd, Austin Cindric. And on the pole for the 6th time this year is Michael McDowell in the Love's Travel Stops Ford. And that's the starting grid for the 55th annual Alabama 500 in Talladega. Hurry-up mode on that starting grid because they've already gotten one to go, Matt. They're not wasting any time today as we are about a half lap away from the green. Real quick, keys to the race on Matt's whiteboard.
Well, tyres shouldn't be too much of a factor. If we see pit stops during stages that will be probably only fuel, do not have a pit lane penalty. Speeding, equipment issues, anything like that, especially under green, that will cost you massively here if you have to serve a pit lane penalty. And of course, at super speedways, we always say, win, but don't be in the big one. Easier said than done, of course. And everybody is going to be trying to avoid the crashes that we will see, I'm sure, a couple. And as we often say, when we get to the end of the stages, it gets a little bit dicey. Let's hope we can avoid that today and just have the madness at the end. Sun's out, cars on track, grandstands packed, Matthew Owens. We're ready to get a start here in Alabama.
188 laps, 500 miles, 805 kilometers. The first two stages will go 60 laps each. The final will go 68. The race record was set here in a caution-free race in October of 2002 by Dale Earnhardt Jr. at 183 miles an hour. This is a 2.66-mile D-shaped super speedway. The front stretch 4,300 feet long. The back stretch 4,000 feet long. Between those straights, four corners banked at 33 degrees, stories high banking here at Talladega today. And we are ready to get it going. Michael McDowell and Austin Cindric, a couple of Fords on the front row for, as we called it in the open, all of these races so far in the playoffs have been wild cards. Today is the Joker race. Talladega, you never know what to expect. Any and everything can happen at this racetrack. As always, it's a sellout crowd with all 50 states in the Union represented in the seats. They're all on their feet, and the green flag waves. It's time to drop the hammer at Talladega. Michael McDowell and Todd Gilliland, front row motorsports teammates, link up nose to tail on the inside lane. Austin Cindric topside pushed by Kyle Busch. They're into the banking of turns 1 and 2 for the first time.
McDowell with his nose slightly in the wind ahead of Cindric, who's got Kyle Busch pushing him. A couple of people trying to jump out of line way at the back of the field, trying to make some ground, but nothing happening too serious for the moment as they pick up speed and head towards turn number 3. McDowell getting a huge push from his teammate Todd Gilliland behind him. And third in line, one of our ones to watch today, Ryan Blaney, on that inside line in the Pennzoil colours for Roger Penske. Out of turn 4, who's going to lead the first lap of Talladega?
Daniel Suarez will not be that driver. He has to come to pit road. There was an unapproved adjustment before the race. His car chief was ejected. He has to come to pit road at the end of this first lap, which is led by Michael McDowell. So Suarez, a playoff driver, already will be out of the draft here. He would like an early caution because, as we know, Matt, when you're out of the draft, you're going to lose a second to 2 seconds a lap. So the leaders down the back straightaway here. Michael McDowell in front. Todd Gilliland pushes him along in the draft as they head towards turn 3. They're already 3 wide. Towards the middle of the pack, Kyle Larson right through the middle, trying to make up places. As Larson, as we mentioned, has never had much success on these super speedways. He's never finished in the top 5 at Daytona or Talladega in his career. As moving up here on the main straightaway, Denny Hamlin went from the middle towards the top, and he's going to get caught out here. Brad Keselowski moves to his inside. Hamlin trapped topside here, nowhere to go, and backing up out of the draft. So Hamlin in trouble as he attempts to find a way to get back in line here, does Hamlin. And he is in deep trouble here, Hamlin is, as he falls out of the draft. Leaders in turns 3 and 4. Michael McDowell in front of the field as he comes out of turn number 4. And back towards the stripe comes Michael McDowell, the pole sitter. He will lead the second lap in that yellow number 34 Ford Mustang, the dark horse Mustang of McDowell, out in front. Brad Keselowski trying to charge back topside here. He leads that extreme outside lane. The third line of traffic here is where Keselowski is. He's alongside Austin Cindric coming back to Matt.
Carry on. Sorry, 2 seconds.
Okay, very good. Yeah, the wind is heavy here at Talladega. It always is. It's always an issue here at this track. In turn 3, Michael McDowell. He goes from top to bottom. He covers off Keselowski, then Cindric, and now back in front of his teammate Todd Gilliland. So it hasn't taken long at all for the field to get 3 wide here. They are at the front with Gilliland leading that inside line. Ryan Blaney right behind him. Then up the middle is where you find Austin Cindric, followed by Kyle Busch, then Joey Logano. Topside is Michael McDowell ahead of Brad Keselowski. McDowell going into turn 1. Thought he was going to drop down to the bottom. That's what he has been doing. Not here, though, as the RFK cars are linked up topside behind McDowell. That's Keselowski and Buescher.
Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yes.
The early crash was not on the racetrack, but at technology's end, down at this end of the racetrack. But hopefully you can hear me okay as the leaders pound their way back towards turn number 3. 3 wide from about 6th or 7th place back with Gilliland on the inside. McDowell, though, still continuing to hold station up on the high line with Keselowski behind him as they come off 4.
Back onto the main straightaway comes Michael McDowell, hauling the pack behind him. We know how close he's been to winning this year. Of course, here in the spring, he was leading off of turn 4 on the last lap. Tried to block Brad Keselowski, ended up in the wall. Guess who's first and second here? McDowell and Keselowski. They climb the 33 degrees of banking in turns 1 and 2.
Out of 2 they come, lap 6 of 60 in this first stage. Cindric still ahead of Busch in the middle lane. Couple of cars lengths back from that initial being pushing Keselowski and McDowell. Buescher, his teammate, in third. Is Keselowski looking to make a move in 3? No, he doesn't. He stays in line for the moment as he waits for Buescher to come up behind him. Complete, I was going to say full field pace lap, but it's not with the 3 wide going on as they come out of turn number 4.
And it's Michael McDowell at the front of it all. He stays topside ahead of Keselowski and Buescher, those RFK teammates. Then you've got Ryan Preece, 4th in line. He's in the Wonderbread 41. Talladega, have to get Wonderbread out on the racetrack. At middle lane is at about 5th position. It's led by Austin Cindric and Kyle Busch. On the bottom lane, the first car in that line is that red 38 of Todd Gilliland.
It's Ricky Preece for the day in the 41 car. As the field flashes past our camera on the wall at the exit of turn number 2. Austin Cindric moving around in the middle lane to cover off Kyle Busch. All looks pretty safe and secure at the moment, but it only takes a split second of a wrong push or a wrong bump going on for all the chaos to kick off. As we're looking at Denny Hamlin, who's decided to go all the way to the back here and log the laps in this early portion.
Well, he actually didn't decide to, Matt. We had that a moment ago. He moved up to try to block Brad Keselowski, and Keselowski said, no, thank you, pushed Hamlin high up the banking, and back he went. So Hamlin, not so voluntarily, is at the back of this pack. But sometimes, as we have grown to learn, Matt, the back here at Talladega isn't the worst place to be.
No, true. And Denny did a lot of his running at Atlanta in the last round, in the opening race of the playoffs, running around towards the back end of the field because his car wasn't very good. But maybe this time he'll have a bit of a different day. We've seen it before. People running around at the back, just stay out of trouble, pick your way through any accidents, and then you'll be there at the end. Or you can come through from the back and then cause the crash yourself. See Carl Edwards a few years back as the field comes out of turn number 4.
And Todd Gilliland leading that inside lane, pushed by Ryan Blaney, and Austin Dillon is charged up. They've created a rally right along that double yellow line at the bottom of the racetrack as they come out of the tri-oval and back to the line. The start-finish line at Talladega, of course, 1,000 feet further down from the center of the tri-oval as it is at Talladega. McDowell in the top lane, getting it wound up there, Matt, has pulled back away from Gilliland on the bottom.
The 3 pillars of cars going around the racetrack. The middle one is fading back with Austin Cindric at the front of it, and now that the inside line has got some momentum going with Gilliland and Blaney at the front, as you mentioned. McDowell, though, still out front, and Keselowski clear of the inside lane. Gilliland and Blaney getting a little bit separated as they come through turn 3, but that'll all come back together again. Michael McDowell, though, continuing to lead as they head towards lap number 10.
And again, Brad Keselowski, the car on the back bumper of McDowell as they make their way back to the tri-oval and towards the line. So it's McDowell in front. Dealing with stuff today that we haven't dealt with all year, have we? That's fun. McDowell and Keselowski leading the field here in the opening laps. We work lap 10 of 188 for the race, Matt, 10 of 60 here in this opening stage. And is there a level of surprise that we got 3 wide that quickly?
Yes, I think so, actually. I didn't expect it to be this 3 wide so early. We often see it towards the back end of the pack a lot of the time, but going 3 wide throughout the field is in the first stage is a little bit more unheard of in the last few races here. And we get 3 wide more often here, as we talked about in the Open, than we do at Daytona, for instance. So we're going to see, it looks like we're going to see a lot of it for most of the afternoon by the sound of things.
Yeah, it does. And hopefully it will all stay clean here. We know how so easily accidents can happen here at the Talladega Superspeedway. Ignore our giggles. Michael McDowell across the line in front. Todd Gilliland's moved to that middle lane, Matt, so he leads the center with Austin Cindric at the back door. It's now Ryan Blaney that leads the inside line. They're in turns 1 and 2, and they're just about 3 across the track for the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. Gilliland with the jump across, and here's Daniel Suarez, about to be swallowed up by this snarling pack of cars behind him after serving that penalty at the end of lap 1. He stayed on the lead lap then. He won't stay on the lead lap for too much longer as the field heads towards 3. By the time they get back to the start-finish line, Suarez is going to be involved here in the rest of the field. The middle lane now starts to slide back with Gilliland at the front of it, so it's going to be Blaney versus McDowell for the lead.
McDowell keeping it wound up topside. We know how he controls a draft so extremely well. We talked about that here in the spring. We talked about it at Daytona in the summer, which he was leading late. And where's Suarez going to go? Because when a pack that's 3 wide tries to lap a car, it's not easy. And Suarez not exactly making it easy, Matt. He's right in the middle of the track. McDowell around his outside. Austin Dillon to his inside. Nowhere for Todd Gilliland to go. And watch out off turn 2.
Suarez getting himself boxed. He's trying to, well, I don't know what he's trying to do. He stays middle, goes 4 wide. The Gilliland queue goes past him, and he'll try and slot himself in.
Oh, no!
Oh, he gets turned into the wall. He tried to get in front of, I think that was BJ McLeod, and he's crashed himself out of this race. Caution is out. Daniel Suarez slides through the grass, comes to a rest in the very bright pink Tootsie's car in turn 3, but his day has gone from bad to extreme for Daniel Suarez. That was a very, very silly piece of driving from the Mexican.
Absolutely no idea what he was doing. Well, that was ridiculous. You drop to the tail end of this pack, you pick up the draft, you stay there. If you get an early caution, you're back on the lead lap and back in the race, Matt. Why did he do that?
I don't know. He should have just stayed low off 2 and pulled down and let them go by, and then pick up the back of the queue as you talked about. But AMR safety crew in their Ford Raptor are on scene. We saw it from the high shot. We're going to see it again. So McDowell goes by Suarez, who gets put into the middle. Somewhere along the line, Austin Dillon got past Ryan Blaney, which we missed, on the inside line. Then he stays middle, does Suarez, until Gilliland kind of air moved him out of the way to make it 4 wide. And I think he was trying to get in behind the 15 and didn't quite time it right, and ends up hitting the outside wall off the front bumper of, I think that was BJ, as I said, I think that was BJ McLeod.
Yeah, it was. Let me tell you, Matt, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen Daniel Suarez do. I don't. That was very stupid. And here's the other thing: if he's got flat tires and has to be dragged back to pit road, he hit the wall. We had this last week with Ryan Preece, did we not? He spun or was it Josh Berry? Josh Berry. He got turned lap 1. He hit the wall. He could have continued. He did not have race-ending damage. But he had to be dragged back to pit road because he couldn't get there with flat tires. But because he had hit the wall, he had been listed as a part of a crash. And when you're a part of a crash and you have to be pushed back to pit road or dragged back to pit road, your day is done. Suarez's day could be done here because he did hit the wall.
He did hit the wall. He went through the grass as well. So hopefully, if his tyres are up, his splitter is undamaged. But yeah, I agreed. That's a rookie error from a guy that is not a rookie. Xfinity Series champion, multiple-time Cup Series winner.
That's something you'd expect to see on Friday in the truck race. That was
or an ARCA race.
That was
somewhere.
very bad. Yeah. That was terrible.
He is moving, and he's got to pit lane, so his day is not over. But he's going to be multiple laps down. He has flat tires on the right-hand side. How much damage, suspension-wise or other, has been done to the Orchid Lounge Tootsie's number 99? He comes crabbing his way in. Right front is definitely damaged suspension-wise, I'd suggest. The Trackhouse team will go to work and see if they can get him back on the racetrack, but we're under caution on lap 14.
I don't know if I've ever seen something so stupid from a playoff driver.
Right, yeah.
I don't get that. Oh my gosh. That's awful. That's one of the worst things you'll see, just decision-wise, from a driver in a NASCAR Cup Series race. I mean, like you said, he's trying to get in behind Cody Ware and in front of BJ McLeod. He's mistimed it by a couple hundred feet.
Well, yeah, and we were lucky that no one else got caught up in that as Daniel came sliding back down through the pack. Kyle Larson was close on the scene, as was Alex Bowman. Oh, and with William Byron as well. Had to jump on the anchors and avoid the sliding number 99.
Well, that's unfortunate, but that's a terrible, terrible decision by Daniel Suarez. And he, like we said, he did make it back to pit road under his own power, so he's not out of the race as far as that goes, Matt, but he might be out of the race because of the damage he suffered. They can't get the left side of the car jacked up because the left rear tire's flat.
Oh, yeah, we didn't see that from the shot we had. So, yeah, left side damage as well in terms of tyres from the big lurid slide. Right sides were punctured by the wall, but the left side's damaged as well. So they'll continue to go to work down there on the pit lane. And hopefully, and here we go, I was just about to say, hopefully they won't be too long in getting Suarez back out, and he's now rolling. So hopefully for him, he will be in a position to continue. Looks like we're going to get everybody to pit lane by the sound of things. Looks like it will be mostly everybody being led by Michael McDowell.
But already pit road's going to get busy. Marty, they're coming your way.
Defending winner of this race, Ryan Blaney, said his car was, quote, squirmy, especially down the front stretch, a little bit outside the fuel window, but Parker hard to pass up this caution to pit now.
Also getting fuel for the 22, Joe Logano, his teammate there. He was saving when he was running in the middle, Kim.
Going to be fuel only for Chase Elliott and Austin Cindric. Both the cars at the bottom of your screen. Austin saying it was just a little snug on that run.
Let's check out race off pit road, won by Brad Keselowski. Just about everyone did not take tires, just fuel only. Matt mentioned earlier, tires have really never been an issue here. Tire wear, at least, has never really been an issue here outside of the first race in 1969, which was a... could write books about that race, multiple books about that race. So, I just want to be clear on what we're saying here about Daniel Suarez. He takes this penalty because there was a pre-race adjustment to the car that wasn't allowed. So they make the adjustment, whatever it is. They have to make the drive-through penalty after lap 1. Not many places where that's worse than here. Bristol and Martinsville, of course. But you get out of the draft, you're going to go a lap down unless you get a lucky caution like, say, Joey Logano did when that happened to him, second race of the year in Atlanta. But, again, just drop to the back of the drafting pack, get a caution, get the free pass, you're back on the lead lap. Now he's still off the lead lap, and he's got a damaged car.
Well, he's multiple laps off now as well with that. So it's, as I said, going from bad to extreme for Daniel Suarez. While we're under caution, let's take a quick whip around the NFL before we go back to green. There was an early game today. It was at Tottenham, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where the Minnesota Vikings beat the New York Jets by 23 points to 17. So that's one result in the books already. In the other early games at halftime, the Commanders are up 24-3 against Cleveland. The Bears are stomping on Carolina 27-7.
Shocked.
They've just started the third quarter there. Yeah, exactly. Also into the third quarter, Patriots 10, Dolphins 3. Jaguars 13, Colts 10. Close game there. They're just into the third quarter as well. As is the game in Buffalo, where they are behind 20-3 against the Texans. And also, unfortunately, behind for half of this broadcast, the Ravens are at 14 points to Cincinnati 17. Just started the second half there.
Wow, that's turned around. So,
yeah.
There is a segment, if you want to call it that. I think we anticipated it being a show. It hasn't turned into a show, but we can turn it into a segment. USRN won a bet. The bet in play today from a certain someone is Washington to beat Cleveland. It's happening. And then 3 late. No. I'm sorry. Washington to beat Cleveland early. Miami and New England to be under 48.5. What was that score again? Did you say 10-3?
Sorry, with the Patriots game, did you say?
Yes.
Yes, 10-3 New England.
Okay, so that's happening. Very good. And then in the late window, Seattle over New York and San Francisco over Arizona. So that's
very good.
That's what we're also keeping our eye on today. By the way,
also in
NFL
good news,
yes.
There's only one Monday night game this weekend, which is Kansas City against the Saints.
That's very good news for me because I get a Monday off. I don't have to do a Monday game, which I have the last 2 weeks. By the way, we were in hurry-up mode, to stick with the football theme there, on the starting grid because they had gotten cars off. They had gotten cars off for parade and pace laps very early. Did not give us a chance to say hello to everyone at JBMotorsports. We're on there today, so you won't hear us take commercial breaks today. That test us. But we are on JBM today along with, of course, as always, on USRN. So glad that you are watching and listening over on JBM, Matt, and we are ready for the restart here, which will come at the completion of lap 16.
Yeah, busy weekend on JBM with our guys down at Brands Hatch for the touring car finale and MotoGP this morning. But now it's time for Talladega. It's time for a green flag. Michael McDowell on the outside the control car, Brad Keselowski to his inside into the restart zone, and we're back to racing at Talladega.
Green flag flies here at the starter stand just below us, and Keselowski and McDowell on the front row, nose to nose here. Remember, both of these drivers in contention late at Talladega. McDowell was leading when he got taken out and swept into a big crash. And remember, Keselowski, just before that accident, Matt, Keselowski jumped the restart from the front row. That's what took him out of contention. They're side by side here off this restart.
Couple of cars trying to make it free wide, about 10 or 12 cars back on the outside. So we've already got a third line trying to form. Cindric giving the big push to McDowell. Dillon giving the big push to Keselowski. And then it's Noah Gragson, third car up in the outside queue as they come through turns 3 and 4 for this first lap on the restart. Keselowski with his nose slightly ahead as they come off turn 4.
Already getting 3 wide, further back in the middle of the pack as one car fades high. That looked like Ryan Preece, but at the front, Michael McDowell with a nose in front comes to the line. He's in front with Austin Cindric and Chris Buescher just behind. I'm sure Buescher would like to get down behind his teammate Keselowski, as meanwhile, about 6 rows back, Kyle Busch breaks to the outside. He wants to lead that third line.
And the two they come with Kyle Busch leading that third line on the outside, but they're a little bit further back than we saw before. McDowell continues to power on. He's now on the inside. Of course, he was running topside before the caution. Cindric in the middle with Buescher giving him the push down the back straightaway. Through turn 3 they come. And I can't even see McDowell from this onboard, so that means he's jumped up in front of Austin Cindric, and he has done as they come out of turn 4.
Yep, McDowell jumps up in front of Austin Cindric now. leads through the tri-oval. Tri-oval, maybe the trickiest place on this racetrack. Full left turn, but only banked at 17 degrees, as here's Kyle Busch mounting a rally top side. He jumped to that outside about a lap and a half ago, and here he comes. He's got the push at the back door from Ryan Preece, and Kyle Busch looks for the lead off turn 2.
The old shake and bake going on the outside here with the Wonderbread car of Ryan Preece. Both the RCR cars right up at the front of the field here with Busch and Austin Dillon early in the race. So that's good news for that organisation. McDowell still leading those. They head to 3, and he now jumps back to the inside to pick up Keselowski. Busch still edging on the outside to get close to Austin Cindric, but it's still those two out front, and they're actually gap the field here.
Yeah, Keselowski was able to get to the bumper cover in McDowell and push him in towards the tri-oval. So McDowell and Keselowski get a little bit of breathing space, but not much. You never will hear from the rest of the pack. They're on the bottom lane, glued and screwed to that double yellow line that rims the bottom of the racetrack, just in front of Austin Dillon and Ryan Blaney. Meanwhile, actually, I beg your pardon, that's Austin Dillon and Noah Gragson, 3rd and 4th on that inside line.
Yeah, sorry, that's my miss ID. It's Buescher behind Cindric, not Gregson. As they come down the back straightaway again, we can see it from spotter cam, basically, how far away the back straight is from the tower here. And they're already in 3, with Busch still continuing to lead that outside line. And in fact, he jumps to the middle to pick up Austin Cindric. So Kyle Busch on the move and going into the middle lane to see if he can get the lead.
Busch, of course, so close at Daytona in the penultimate race of the regular season. He was second to Harrison Burton at the checkered flag. He's had a lot of close calls, including last week at Kansas. Here on the top side, Ryan Preece getting pushed by Todd Gilliland aggressively into the banking of turn 1. That's going to get Preece alongside Busch. It's going to get him past Busch, Matt, and he comes down to the middle of the racetrack, does Ryan Preece.
And McDowell will pick him up and go to the middle, leaving Keselowski leading the inside train. McDowell leads the race. Trying to pick out who that is on the outside. It's Todd Gilliland now leading the outside queue, being pushed by Justin Haley in the Gamebridge car. Still getting used to that driver switch from a couple of weeks ago. But here is Ricky Preece in second position, working the leader, Michael McDowell.
He's got to do it on his own today. No Cal Naughton to be seen, but Ryan Preece up into the second position through the tri-oval in the slipstream of McDowell. McDowell's teammate Gilliland leads that outside line, and he's got to run. And predictably, McDowell goes up from middle to top to get with his teammate Gilliland. Those two have been so strong on the super speedways all season long.
And Preece has gone from the middle to the bottom to pick up Keselowski. So, and here comes Kyle Busch in the middle. So it's going to be 3 wide for the lead. Preece, Busch, and McDowell as they head down the back straightaway. Keselowski giving Preece a huge push as they come down towards turn number 3. Lets him go slightly off the front of the bumper as they head into 3. You do not want to be pushing in the corners. That will lead to catastrophe. McDowell getting a big shove from his teammate Todd Gilliland to go back to the front, and maybe we'll pick up Preece on the inside again.
Yeah,
and
looks
does.
like he wants to go from middle to bottom, then came back to the middle in front of Gilliland, who has Kyle Busch fading to his outside. It provides a bit of a run on the inside from Preece, but Gilliland gets right underneath McDowell's spoiler and pushes him along to turn 1. Those FRM Fords with Haas's underneath the hoods. Here they are in turn 2 with the pack 3 wide behind.
Good to see Justin Haley up towards the front end of the field. He's got a Cup Series win on a super speedway course, rate and shortened, at Daytona a few years ago, but here he is mixing it up in the early stages here in the top 10. Still those 2 FRM cars locked together down the back straightaway. Here comes the inside train, which is Keselowski pushing Ryan Preece. Cindric still leading that middle lane, though, but he's starting to fade back slightly.
Yeah, that middle lane starting to back up just a little bit. It's also got Joey Logano in at 5 cars back. Just behind Logano is Chase Elliott, so you've got some strong cars in that middle lane. Also Ryan Blaney behind Chris Buescher as McDowell at the front, along with Gilliland in lockstep formation. Those teammates jump down to the bottom of the track to get along that double yellow line. At the bottom, that double yellow line, Matt, of course, you cannot go down there and advance your position. If you advance your position below that line, you will be penalized. You could be penalized if you block someone below that line. The line is yellow. Unfortunately, the rule is not always black and white.
No, we've seen that here in the past and at Daytona as well from time to time, but it really originated here. If anyone remembers the Regan Smith victory, that's where it all kind of kicked off and started. out of 4 they come with still those 2 FRM cars at the front.
And in the tri-oval, McDowell and Gilliland keeping the pack at bay. Top side a run for Austin Cindric, pushed by Chris Buescher. Gilliland eases to his right to get in front of Cindric. McDowell will go there too, but now Ryan Preece has the run of the bottom side, pushed by Keselowski, and Kyle Busch still leads that top lane off too.
Yeah, they're starting there now, the lane that's starting to fade back slightly, the outside lane, with Kyle Busch at the front of it, the 2 FRM cars in the middle, but now they pick up Preece on the inside, leaving Austin Cindric with some fresh air on his nose in the middle lane. It's not often we see the teammates manipulate the lanes like this. It's normally one car that's doing the dodging and weaving at the front, but 2 cars at it today, as Kyle Busch now drops to the middle to pick up Austin Cindric, leaving Justin Haley to lead the outside lane.
Justin Haley in the black and gold Gainbridge Chevrolet for Spire Motorsports. He's followed along by Alex Bowman, who's been a real star in these playoffs, and Bowman just gave LaJoie a big boost through the tri-oval, and here comes Corey with a big head of steam. When they get to turn 1, he'll be alongside Chris Buescher, top side. That's 4 rows back. They're 2 by 2 from second on back. Then the 3 wide starts there with Bowman and Haley along with Buescher.
Just noticing on the tower, a couple of guys hanging out towards the back end of the top 20. You mentioned Logano. Hamlin has re-fired after his little moment earlier. He's now in the top 20. A couple more playoff guys hanging out at the back. Byron, Larson and Bell. Don't worry about them too much. They're at the back end of the top 30, but a long, long way to go. We're only on lap 26 of 60 in this first stage and 188 overall. I'll be right on board with Chris Buescher bouncing around on the rear wing.
And again, Daniel Suarez 2 laps down in 40th and last. Here is Justin Haley top side. Kyle Busch jumped to the middle to get in front of Austin Cindric. Haley leads the outside lane, and he is charging forward, but so too is Kyle Busch from the middle. He's got a good pusher behind him in the form of Austin Cindric. They're off 2.
Down slightly ahead still as they come off the corner. But that middle lane is re-fired with Busch at the front of it. They seem to get some more momentum going. What will Justin Haley do? Well, he's being pushed by Alex Bowman out ahead of the queue there on the outside, heading towards turn 3. Nothing doing, but in the middle, Kyle Busch for a moment there was in the lead as they flashed past the camera, but the inside lane with less distance to travel has got McDowell back to the front.
Yeah, McDowell comes off the bottom to the middle to just sniff a draft off of Busch, but here comes Haley topside again. He wants to get to the front. Remember, he led laps at Daytona in that penultimate race of the regular season. In fact, he led 21 laps in that race, Matt. 21 laps he led at Daytona. That's 21 of the 25 he's led all season.
Out of turn 2 they come. McDowell still clear of the lead at the moment, but the snarling pack is formed up behind him, as we've been talking about. Haley on the outside with Bowman, and then Daniel Hemrick, third car back in the queue, the Xfinity Series champion from a year ago. Through turn 3, McDowell still leading. 3 wide from second on back. Gilliland on the inside, Kyle Busch middle, and Justin Haley on the top.
Michael McDowell holding on to this lead. He and Todd Gilliland running extremely well together, and every now and again, Gilliland will apply his front nose. Thank you. There you go, Matt. To the bumper cover of McDowell and kind of push him along down the straightaway, almost tandem draft style like we had in days gone by, and it really gets them some breathing space on the pack. It has here with Kyle Busch joining.
Yeah, Kyle saw it happening and jumped to the back of Gilliland, so 3 cars out front, but they'll get pulled back into the pack quickly here when they get their fishing rods out and bring them in to the bank, as Haley on the outside had a big wiggle off the front bumper of Alex Bowman. Austin Cindric the same there, going into turn 3 off Chris Buescher, but they all stay straight and true. And it's still the 2 FRM cars out front with Kyle Busch in third.
You'll hear us a lot today talking about bump drafting, or unfortunately what at times turns into slam drafting. It's pretty scientific, isn't it, Matt, when the driver from behind can bump the back bumper of the car in front. That's going to propel both of them forward with a lot of momentum in a race that's all about momentum. Problem is, on these cars, the bumpers do not line up, and it creates accidents. You've got to be very careful of how hard you push the guy in front of you.
Especially in the corners. That's where as I've mentioned before, we see the drama unfold. And a lot of the time, it's the guy that's in front that then just either comes out of the throttle or maybe lays on the brakes slightly to bring them back to the guys behind so they don't get completely freight trained. Austin Cindric now to the lead in the middle lane as he attacks McDowell off of 4.
He's got a good pusher in behind, and Chris Buescher, who won at Daytona last year. Cindric tries to pull up alongside McDowell. Here's Justin Haley. That car's got some real straight line speed. He moves to the outside of both Cindric and McDowell. McDowell with a nose in front at the line. Haley now has to back up and recoil as he had gotten away from his pusher Alex Bowman. But this is a really beautiful sight, Matt. McDowell leading 3 by 3 behind.
Yeah, really great to see everybody 3 wide and minding their P's and Q's at the moment. You kind of would have expected after that pit stop from the caution for Daniel Suarez that we might have seen some single file action going on, but everybody is racing here to some degree. We've still got almost half of this first stage still to go, and it's anyone's game at the front. McDowell slightly ahead, but Cindric and Haley and the leaders of the other 2 lines are right with him.
Yeah, Haley had a nose in front going into 3, but McDowell, like you said, the shorter way around on the bottom. He's kept it wide open, and it's put him back in front. Pushed by Gilliland to the line. Haley right alongside Cindric as they go side by side to turn 1 with Gilliland to their inside. They stack them up 3 wide again. You have to be so talented, so calm, so cool, so collected to do this lap after lap at 190 miles an hour.
Picking up on something that NBC are talking about, I can tell they are from the pictures that we're seeing. People back in the pack running half throttle, just making sure they're keeping up with things, and they will be using a hell of a lot less fuel than the guys running right at the front of the queue. Shouldn't have to be a worry in this first stage because we've already seen a pit stop, but just bear that in mind for later in the race, especially when we get down to the crunch. Guys running at the front will use a lot more petrol than everybody using the draft to keep up behind.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. right in the thick of it, behind Ryan Blaney and in front of Joey Logano. And when you can suck off the car in front of you and get pushed along by the car behind you, you don't have to run full throttle to keep pace. One of the only places where you can say that, Matt, but it's true. You can Stenhouse running half throttle. We saw him. We saw the telemetry. Running half throttle for basically the last 2 laps and not losing ground.
And behind Stenhouse in the queue is Joey Logano, and he's doing exactly the same thing as we ride on board with the 22 now. The Atlanta winner from, 4 or 5 weeks ago, the first race of this playoff. And he'll be in contention and in the conversation if he can get himself towards the end of this race. But everybody at the moment, it looks dramatic, but everyone's staying in line and just trying to log laps and save some fuel.
And, there's been a lot of consternation this year from the fans on Twitter and SiriusXM and so on. We don't like them saving fuel. We don't like to watch them saving fuel. We want them to go 100% all the time. Well, first off, there's no race where everyone goes 100% all the time. I can promise you that doesn't happen at any race at any point of the season. Secondly, Matt, what I don't understand, it's not like this is calm racing.
No.
They're running half throttle, but they're still running 100% mentally. A mistake can be made here. This is still edge-of-your-seat stuff.
Absolutely right. A wrong bump or a misplaced bump, as we've talked about, can cause the drama. And what they're trying to do here, we talked about there being a pit stop in this stage, and they'll get to the end without having to stop again, no problem. But what they're trying to do here is save fuel for the pit stop at the end of the stage, so they can get that done as quickly as possible and get themselves back out and try and jump some cars in that would be ahead of them in the pit lane to get themselves ready for the start of stage 2. So it's all strategy all the time. No let off in terms of that mental sort of calculation from the crew chiefs. We've got 4-wide action going on a little bit towards the back of the queue here. Zane Smith on the high side. So as you say, it's all happening all of the time. It doesn't look like it's not 100% racing to me. And we've got 3 wide throughout the pack. Michael McDowell still leading. Austin Cindric in the middle lane. It's leading that line, but has dropped back slightly. It's going to be McDowell, though, who's going to come to the line and lead this lap.
Yeah, and again, all of this is strategic with the fuel saving, because to the point that Matt made, Michael McDowell is going to have to take on more fuel than anyone, because he's been leading this pack the entire run at the next pit stop, whether that comes under caution for incident or for the stage. So even if they change tires, which they might not, they might take 2 or 4, but he'll have to wait for fuel, Matt. The guys behind him, especially in the middle of the pack, will not. That is the point of all of this.
Yeah, you may have heard me chuckle when we were looking at the pit stops at the end of stage 1. It almost looked like Ryan Blaney's car never even came to a stop in his pit box, they put some fuel in as he was still rolling through the bay, and then they pulled it out and he was gone. So I don't know if there was a clock on that car. There shouldn't have been, because it never came to a stop as the field exits turn number 4.
Chase Briscoe's been making a lot of moves here in the last 2.5 miles. He's gone from the top of the racetrack 4 wide all the way to the bottom. They're making some 4 wide moves in the middle of this pack, and the one doing it now at the start-finish line is Eric Jones, and he is squeezed to the outside of Ty Gibbs. You can easily run 4 wide here. I say easily. You can run 4 wide here. You could easily put 4 cars across the track. That's how I'll word this, Matt. And he's got Christopher Bell pushing him from behind.
Yeah, 2 Toyota guys lined up together there. They've got Ty Gibbs with them as well. And Jones continued to use that momentum on the outside. Ends up being blocked by Kyle Larson. 3 Toyotas wide there with Noah Gregson on its inside, with Jones, Reddick, and Gibbs. But Jones trying to make some moves here. We talked about it earlier. Got involved in that incident in turn 3 in the spring, which meant he missed a few races with some concussion. But we know he's a very, very good super speedway racer in his own right.
Spring 2022, he was leading off turn 4 on the last lap. Tried to block a couple of cars, ended up getting pushed into the wall. Ross Chastain went on to win, but Jones knows how to do this on a high level. He's won at Daytona in a Cup race and in a Busch Clash. Yes, the Clash used to be held at Daytona, if you can believe that. That happened.
Yeah, that race was an absolute destruction derby, wasn't it?
Yes,
Jones's car was not factory spec when it finished that race by any stretch of the imagination. That was the Home Depot car from memory, wasn't it? Perhaps. DeWalt, somewhere, one of those old-timey sponsors from back in the day. Still 4 wide action going on, and it's actually further forward now. We've got 4 wide for about 10th place. Alex Bowman is in the middle of that, as is Ryan Blaney. So business picking up here as we get closer and closer to the end of stage 1.
If you did not think it was tense, 4 wide is extremely tense. Alex Bowman leading that 4th lane with Daniel Hemrick in behind is at the line. Justin Haley might have had a nose in front. If he did, it's just the 26th lap he has led all season and just the 3rd race he has led all year. He's dropped to the bottom in front of Michael McDowell. Justin Haley's your clear leader.
Don't think he did lead that lap. Timing and scoring is giving it to McDowell. So if he stays where he is, he should lead this one, though, as they head down the back straight away. Gets a big push from McDowell and from Gilliland. Middle lane coming back, though, with Austin Cindric still at the front of it, being pushed by Chris Buescher. And I can't quite say that, Hemrick perhaps up on the outside. Being pushed by Kyle Larson, but it's Justin Haley in the lead off 4.
This is Ross Chastain, top side. The reason you can't see him is he's camouflaged today. He's in the Busch Light camo car, and Chastain, the Kansas winner from last week, leads the outside lane. Haley does lead this lap across the line. He's got Chastain being pushed to his outside by Kyle Larson. Is there a stat in NASCAR presently, Matt, more incredible than Kyle Larson has never finished top 10 in a Cup race at Daytona or Talladega?
It's not a stat that Kyle likes, so I can tell you that. And he's trying to change that every time we come to one of these racetracks. And he's in, well, I know we've got a long, long way to go. He's in decent position at the moment. 2nd car back on the high side behind the camouflage from Beal of Ross Chastain. We jump on board with John Hunter Nemechek. I believe this is absolutely in the middle of everything going on as they come off 4.
Yeah, just in behind Joey Logano, Christopher Bell to driver's right, Brad Keselowski to driver's left. You got Ryan Preece up there in front of Keselowski. Those two have slipped back here through the cycle of pit stops and in this run. As Tyler Reddick, he's got his teammate Darrell Wallace Jr. rambling to his outside. Chase Briscoe's up there. This is about a third of the field in that one camera shot.
4 wide for 4th, with Bowman now not on the high side, but he slipped to the 2nd lane, let's call it, from the top. Hemrick to his outside. On board with Chris Buescher. He's got Gibbs to his elbow. Kyle Larson dodging and weaving up at the front. I'd like to have seen that from the outside view. They've stayed alive, and he pushes Ross Chastain into the lead as they come through 4. Then it is 4 wide from the 3rd place car on back, which is still Justin Haley, but it's Ross Chastain leading at Talladega.
Woo, Austin Cindric very nearly got turned going into turn 3. That could have been an absolute ridiculous crash. He saved it. He's the 2nd car from the inside in 4 wide. Here's Alex Bowman at the start-finish line. Slices to the inside of his own teammate, Kyle Larson. Bowman will get to 2nd. Larson charges back. It's tense now. The leader, Chastain, side by side behind him. 4 wide from 4th on back.
madness at Talladega in the early laps. I don't really know why we're racing this hard, to be honest, in the first stage. It's not like there's weather coming and we're racing that. But here comes the outside line, and Chastain will pick it up. It's 3 wide from second on, or from the lead now, in fact, because Chastain on the outside, Larson middle, and Alex Bowman on the inside in the 48 car off of turn 4.
This is absolutely incredible. This is why all of these fans come to Talladega. I mentioned coming to the green flag, Matt. Once again, a sellout crowd, and once again, at least one person from all 50 states in the seats or the infield today. Multiple countries represented here today, and this is why. This is madness. Larson a nose in front of the middle of the corner. Chastain to his outside. Bowman to his inside. What a wad off turn 2.
Bowman led the lap, but he's now third as they come out of turn 2 with Chastain and Larson just to his outside. Here comes the outside line to make it 4 wide for the lead. Huge push. Daniel Hemrick being shoved down the outside. It is 4 wide in turn 3 at Talladega on lap of whatever it is in stage 1. We did not expect to see anything like this. 4 wide, a huge gaggle wad coming out of turn 4.
This is absolutely fantastic, and Lee Diffie's got to be losing his mind. 4 abreast, 4 Chevrolets across the track. They cross the line. Who in God's name knows who led the lap? They're saying it was Chastain by 4 1/1000ths of a second. I don't even think it was that big of a margin. They stay 4 wide from the front to the back of this pack in turn 2.
I don't think we've ever seen a Talladega race this wild, this early. As they come down the back straightaway, we're on board with Joey Logano in the complete middle of the hornet's nest. Down the back straight they come. Whose camera this is, I've no idea, but it's in the 4th lane.
Shane Van
up
Gisbergen.
On the wall. It's already got a broken lens. It is Shane Van Gisbergen. It's good to see him continuing to be. He had a strong run yesterday in the Xfinity Series race. Didn't quite get the finish that he deserved. Off of 4, though, 4 wide, still for the front.
Couple of guys starting to bail out of this pack a little bit because they don't like to see what's going on. We love to see what's going on. Fans and broadcasters love this race and this kind of racing. Drivers, not so much. Here's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He's always in the thick of things at Talladega, and he's in the nest of vehicles in turn 2 right here.
It was Denny Hamlin that pushed Daniel Hemrick to the lead down the back straightaway a couple of laps ago on the high line. Just caught a glimpse of him before, but it's Hemrick still leading the exterior outside line, let's call it, as they head towards turn number 4. Ross Chastain slightly ahead now. In fact, he clears the field as they head through 3. What will he do with it? Will he come in front of Alex Bowman on the inside line? Not quite sure he had the room. Joey Logano's dropped to the inside line, still with his teammate just in his gun sights, Ryan Blaney.
When you've got just about the whole lead pack 4 wide. Less onboard shots, please. Ross Chastain leads through the tri-oval. He's now clear to the lead at the line, but for how long will he be able to say that? He's moved to the second line from the bottom in front of Kyle Larson. They're still stacked up 4 abreast behind the leader Chastain in the banking of turn 2.
If there's some mistaken call or a bad block or something at the front of the field here, it will cause absolute chaos to the playoff grid because everybody is involved in this front leading group pretty much, apart from Tyler Reddick and, of course, the double lap down, Daniel Suarez, after his brain fade moment earlier on. Ross Chastain continues to lead. Kyle Larson is slightly clear of the rest of the field in second. He and Bowman actually 2 wide for second, and then the 4 wide continues on back from there.
Among the drivers that have dropped away, that have backed away carefully from this lead pack, Martin Truex Jr., Zane Smith, Austin Dillon, Brad Keselowski. Among the drivers that have just backed off here, and they don't want... that's an interesting shot from NBC after the week that we've had. But they've just backed away from this lead pack, just not wanting to get in any trouble if it happens. Oh, by the way, Matt, still 14 to go in the stage.
Yeah, a good chunk of the old wise heads in that group. You mentioned Kyle Busch also has fallen to the back of the field, and as you mentioned, Michael Jordan in attendance today, a track that this team got their first win at, of course, with Darrell Wallace Jr. a few years ago in the rain-shortened race. Here comes the field off of 4, and it's now 3 wide for the lead. Larson, Bowman, and Chastain.
Bowman on the bottom, Larson in the middle, Chastain top side. Daniel Hemrick, if he could get up there, would make it 4 wide for the lead again, but it's 3 abreast at the line at the front. those three Chevrolets basically blocking the rest of the track. Daniel Hemrick rim riding, Denny Hamlin and Eric Jones behind him. They're in turns 1 and 2. The edge goes to nobody.
And out of 2 comes this absolute rasp of cars. Ryan Blaney getting a shove from Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the middle of the field. Todd Gilliland still involved here in the mix, still behind his teammate Michael McDowell. And here on the outside again, Denny Hamlin gives Daniel Hemrick a huge shove as they head towards 3, puts Hemrick into the lead momentarily, but it is now back to being 4 wide for the lead at Talladega with 12 laps to go in stage 1.
Fourth car on the 4th line is the black unsponsored 78 of BJ McLeod, who led laps in stage 1 here in the spring. He was running extremely well. He ran out of fuel at the front of the pack, remember, late in stage 1 of that race, and that disbarred his day. But once again, you've got McLeod running towards the front and in this lead group as the Chevrolets up front are still 4 across the track for the top position.
Here comes Hamlin again to give Hemrick the shove, much like on the last lap on the high side. It'll put Hemrick in front for the moment. Ty Gibbs is behind Ross Chastain, giving him a big push down towards turn number 3. And Chastain will be the leader as they peel their way into the left-hander. 4 wide for 3rd as Hemrick is left slightly on his own by Hamlin. It'll all come back together again with Ross Chastain out front.
Two of us watch a lot of racing. You watch more racing than anyone on the planet. Going to have more of that in the winter, by the way, with our USRN Race Club. I'm not sure if you'll see more intense racing than this so early in any race that you watch. This is unbelievable. Some might say, why are they running like this on lap 50? I'm not questioning it.
I did about 6 laps ago. I don't understand why they're running so hard, but I don't mind because it's brilliant television and brilliant radio as Ross Chastain continues to lead, middle tracking down the back straightaway with those 2 Hendrick cars behind him, and Ty Gibbs squeezing away in to make it 4 wide for 2nd. Hemrick to his right, Larson to his left, and Bowman to his extreme left. Pack of 20 cars, maybe a few more, all of them pretty much 4 wide coming out of turn 4.
Yeah, this is really unbelievable. Ryan Preece is the last car in this line. And once I can find on timing and scoring where he is, we can know how big this pack is. Timing and scoring not really helping me out here as I'm looking on the screen in front of me. My goodness, where is he? Heavens to Betsy. He's 22nd, so about 22, 24 cars in this draft, we'll say.
Chastain and Hemrick now side by side, 2 wide for the lead for the moment as the Hendrick cars of Larson and Bowman start to slip a little bit further back. Christopher Bell making his presence felt a little bit more down at the front end in the number 20. And they've all got separated suddenly in turn 3. Don't know really what happened there. So Hemrick now on his own on the outside will slip to 4th. Larson 3rd. And Chastain being pushed by Ty Gibbs.
First time the top 3 has moved away from the pack in a number of laps, as we're down to 9 laps to go now here in this opening stage with Ross Chastain the leader, non-playoff driver that won last weekend in Kansas City, his first win of the year. Now he's in front with Ty Gibbs, an eliminated playoff driver running behind him second.
Ty Gibbs was going to be one of my ones to watch in the pre-show today, but I've changed my mind late. I thought he might have a good day, and it's proving to be decent so far as he makes a big move to block Daniel Hemrick from 2nd position. That was huge on the back straightaway to cover that off, and that's going to give the door open advantage to Denny Hamlin to go past Hemrick and bring Christopher Bell with him. And I don't think Daniel Hemrick will be much in this pack for much longer at the front end. He's going to slide backwards up on the high side.
Pardon me as I get a time mark to know what's going to be in Nickelback again next week. Very good. As Kyle Larson has his nose in front at the line. Alex Bowman to his inside. Ross Chastain fans to his outside. Chastain got to the lead. He likes it up there. He wants to stay there, and so far he has.
Well, they can't see him in the lead, of course, in the camouflage livery today. He's not really there, only on timing and scoring. But he leads the outside line with Ty Gibbs behind him, then Hamlin, then Bell. So all the Toyotas line up together. We've got Noah Gregson behind them. No, they haven't. It's William Byron, in the Raptor livery this week. But his Byron's two teammates on the inside, Larson and Bowman still elbow to elbow for the front end of the field on the 2 inside lines. It's 3 wide at the front.
Just phenomenal racing as Larson and Bowman again get to the inside of Chastain. Chastain, though, keeps it wound up topside and through the tri-oval. Ty Gibbs pushes him forward to the lead as they cross the line with 7 to go in the stage. You got Gibbs, Hamlin, and Buescher now lined up, and then Gibbs is going to drop down to the bottom of Chastain here. I think he is. Ty Gibbs going for the lead on Ross Chastain. Here they are door to door in turn 2. It's Gibbs looking for the lead. Can he find it?
Who will he pick up to use as his push? He's got with Larson. I thought he was going to jump down to the bottom and get Bowman, but he stays middle. But Chastain's got a huge push from Denny Hamlin to the lead. Those two have history. And Larson jumps out from behind Gibbs to take the line away from Bowman. So that's not worked out for Ty at all. 4 wide for second. Bowman with his nose slightly ahead. Ross Chastain is loving all this stuff going on behind him. It's 4 wide for second. Chastain still leading.
Yeah, unbelievable. The Gibbs making that big move, and once again, it's changed the complexion of this pack. Chastain through the tri-oval leading. Larson gets to his spoiler. Alex Bowman wants to go inside, tries to do it, but it's Chastain who still holds on to the lead here going into turn number 1. So back into 1 and 2. Ross Chastain, the leader. Hendrick Carr's right behind him.
Denny Hamlin got shuffled out in that. Chamoz always gone about 4th or 5th car back on the extreme outside. Chastain leading. Drops to the inside this time to pick up Alex Bowman, who's still being pushed by Justin Haley. We haven't mentioned him for a little while, but he's still 3rd car back on the inside ahead of the 2 FRM cars. Through 3 and 4 they come. Chastain continues to try and manipulate the lines in a Brad Keselowski style, and he is still in front as they come to 5 to go.
So through the tri-oval comes this lead pack, led still by Ross Chastain as he tries to keep everyone in his rearview mirror. 5 to go, as Matt mentions, here in this opening stage. Alex Bowman is second. Justin Haley now lines up third, and back towards the leaders here come the FRM duo, 4th and 5th, Matt McDowell and Gilliland.
Might have something to say in the way that stage points are paid out in a few laps' time. Chastain, he's not interested in winning the stage really, but he just wants to keep his car clean and keep at the front. We often talk about crashes at the end of stages in these races. I think if it happens in the next little while, we can begrudge it today because this has been absolutely sensational racing for the last 15-20 minutes.
Boy, William Byron just made an aggressive move out of turn 4. He went to the top to the middle to get around Christopher Bell. NBC apparently saw it too, as here comes Kyle Larson braking to the outside of Ross Chastain at the line, trying to snatch the lead away. He hasn't done it. He doesn't have much drafting help, just 1 car behind him. That's Chris Buescher. That allows Chastain to hold on to the lead in turns 1 and 2.
And Larson will slide 4 or 5 cars back on the outside now. So that did not work for the 5 team. Chastain looks like he's got an excellent car underneath him today. Down the straight they come. He's now got Austin Cindric as his pusher, and he's got Ryan Blaney behind him. So the Penske cars starting to make their muscle known here at the front as we head towards the end of this first stage.
Leaders exiting turn 4, and Ross Chastain's done a magnificent job keeping this snarling pack behind him, but how much longer can he do it? Everyone's going to start to get a little bit more aggressive and more desperate with points on the line. That includes Austin Cindric, who started the day well below the cut line. He's on the back door of Chastain. Top side, 3 wide, Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s white and green machine. He takes it to the top of the banking and makes it 3 wide for the lead with Chastain and Bowman.
Out of 2. First real sign of Stenhouse at the front. We didn't think it would take long. He's got Larson giving him a big push down the back straightaway. Chastain being pushed by Cindric. Bowman being pushed by Haley. Bit of tandem stuff going on, but Chastain has got to the front. Can he drop in front of Alex Bowman? Not quite clear. And Cindric will try and pick up Chastain as they come out of turn number 4.
So Ross Chastain gets back to the lead, but here's Stenhouse with a big move, or a big run to the top. Chastain tried to go up, couldn't block him, comes back down in the middle, gets in front of Cindric. It allows Stenhouse to use that head of steam to get back to his outside. 2 to go in the stage. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. from Olive Branch, Mississippi, goes to the front of the field, pushed by Larson. Chris Buescher behind him. Chastain now runs the middle of the racetrack.
Inside line has faded with Alex Bowman at the front of it for the moment. They've only got 3 or 4 cars in that queue, and they're going to fall backwards here. But it's Stenhouse versus Chastain. Larson giving the push to Ricky, and Austin giving the push to Ross. And those 3, Chastain, Cindric and Blaney jump to the inside. And now Chastain goes back to the middle to pick up Stenhouse. Madness going on at Talladega as they come towards the last lap of stage 1.
Stenhouse has another big run topside. Good push from Kyle Larson. And Stenhouse pulls up alongside Ross Chastain. They come to the line. Stenhouse has a nose in front, and the final lap of stage 1 is underway. How aggressive will these drivers get to win a stage? 11 big points on the line if you can win this stage. A non-playoff driver leads it in Stenhouse. Larson, who had a nightmare weekend last week, is second.
Can he line up something here, Larson? They'll both drop to the inside and get ahead of Chastain. First time we've seen Ross this far back in the queue for a long, long time. Here comes Chris Buescher being pushed by Tyler Reddick, who's found his way to the front in turn 3. Last couple of corners of the first stage, it's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. leading. Through 3 and 4 they come. Larson and Chastain second and third side by side.
Here come the leaders off of turn 4 for the final time in stage 1. Chris Buescher with a big push from Tyler Reddick gets alongside Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Here they come, screaming to the green and white checkered flag, and Chris Buescher makes it there first. Chris Buescher snookers the stage from everyone. He's followed to the line by Stenhouse and Byron and Larson and Bell. Then Reddick, Chastain, Briscoe, Cindric, and Blaney from 10 points to 1. Those are the points-paying positions in stage 1. A playoff point for what it matters to Chris Buescher. That for him, as an eliminated playoff driver, becomes just 1 additional point. Oh my goodness, what a stage at Talladega! Oh wow, did we love that?
Sensational stuff. And I'm just impressed that we managed to get through that whole stage without an accident.
Yeah.
Apart from the Daniel Suarez thing, but that last 20 minutes was high quality stuff. Probably the best segment of super speedway racing we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years.
Oh,
if not longer.
Incredible what we just witnessed here in what was a magnificent stage of racing here at Talladega. So we are going to stay right here. We're on JBM today, of course. So we're wide open and green, Matt, here at Talladega.
Yes.
And, of course, for those of you that normally listen on JBM, what we do at the end of Stage 1 is we hand it over to Mr. White. And Matt tells us what happened on this day in racing history on October 6th, 2024.
Do this, and then it'll be a Ken Squire moment as I get the phone in front of me. Yes, 6th of October. Plenty of stuff to tell you about, and let's start, as we always do, with the birthday list. Happy birthday, although it's almost tomorrow where he is, to Macaulay Jones from the Supercars Championship. Also Patrick Gallagher, who was on the USRN airwaves a couple of weeks ago at Indianapolis when we did the IMSA race there. A couple of others. AJ Moyer's birthday today. Former British touring car driver Phil Bennett. Frederick Ekblom's birthday today. It would be, if they were still with us, but they are sadly not, Manfred Winkelhock's birthday, and also one of your favourites, Matthew, Carlos Pache.
Hey.
His birthday today. On this day in racing, in terms of actual races, the last time we were Cup Series racing on the 6th of October was in 2019. It was the Dryden 400 at Dover, won by Kyle Larson. The year before, also at Dover in the Xfinity Series, Christopher Bell won Bar Harbor 200. Kevin Harvick won at Kansas in 2013 in the Cup Series in the Hollywood Casino 400, which was the same name of the race that we did last week at Kansas Speedway. Also on that same day, Sebastian Vettel won the Korean Grand Prix, and the second race of the weekend was held outside the Texan Stadium in Houston at Reliant Stadium. The second race of the weekend won by Will Power in the IZOD IndyCar Championship, which is a bit of a throwback. Parker Klingerman won a Truck Series race here at Talladega on this day in 2012, the Fred's 250, powered by Coca-Cola. Those sponsorships probably should be the other way around, honestly. It should be the Coca-Cola 250 powered by Fred's. But there you go. It's the anniversary of the 10th Petit Le Mans, which comes up next weekend at Road Atlanta. Today is the 10th anniversary of it. And Dindo Capello and Alan McNish won that race for Audi. You mentioned it in the Open, the race record actually happened on this day in 2002. The EA Sports 500, won by Dale Earnhardt Jr., right here at Talladega. On that same afternoon in Miami, at the Miami Bayfront Street Circuit, the Grand Prix of the Americas was won in the kart championship by Cristiano de Mata. The 2001 Petit Le Mans was won on this day by Frank Biela and Emanuele Pirro for Audi. Terry Labonte won at Charlotte on this day in 96 in the UAW GM Quality 500. On that same day at Mount Panorama, it's Happy Bathurst Day for next Sunday. The AMP Bathurst 1000 was won by Craig Lowndes and Greg Murphy. Pennsylvania International Raceway, I'm guessing that must be Nazareth. In 1991 was the Bosch Sparkplug Grand Prix, won by Arie Luyendyk. And we've had plenty of US Grand Prix on this day from times of in memorial. Although, actually, before I talk about them, we must mention Nigel Mansell's first Formula One race victory came on this day at Brands Hatch in the European Grand Prix in 1985. And the US Grand Prix winners on this day in 74, Carlos Reutemann; in 68, Jackie Stewart; and in 63, Graham Hill. And now we've got the addition of MotoGP to add to this segment, and I've not got the page in front of me, so bear with me for 2 seconds while I skip forward to October 6th to tell you that in 2019 they were at the Bud International Circuit in Thailand. Marc Marquez won the main race, Luca Marini won in Moto 2, and Albert Arenas won in Moto 3. And in the 2002 Pacific Grand Prix was at Motegi, well, not the Japanese Grand Prix, the Pacific Grand Prix. Alex Barros won the main race. 250 was won by Tony Elias, former American champion as well. And the 125 race was won by Danny Pedrosa. And that concludes On This Day in Racing for October 6th.
And real quick, leaders on pit road.
4 tires from Goodyear, weight on fuel like everyone. The car drives well, according to the driver, Kim.
Kyle Larson, bottom right, 4 fresh Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel. He was waiting on Cliff's call to leave the box. You saw that kind of stutter there. Kyle Larson didn't ask for anything. He just wanted to know which drivers in the playoffs scored points and which didn't, as he had to back up out of his box.
So the first tire changes for a lot of these drivers here. And William Byron wins the race off pit road, unreported by NBC, interestingly enough. Todd Gilliland spun. Not sure if he spun himself, like locking up the brakes, or if he got hit from behind, but he spun, turning into his box.
That's not good for Todd, as they were running pretty much in that front pack the whole of stage 1.
And as you heard Kim Kuhn say, Larson had to put it in reverse to get out of his box, so he has lost some track position there. So we're under caution here at the end of stage 1 at Talladega. And the stage 1 winner, Chris Buescher, as he was able to steal the stage win away from everybody else coming to the checkered flag. Of course, we talk all the time about it on these super speedways. The end of the stages, normally for drivers, a practice run to the finish of the race. And if Chris Buescher was indeed practicing his finish, he nailed it spot on. His teammate Brad Keselowski stayed out during this the first lap, where cars could come down pit road to try to stay out of, well, the carnage, because all the lead lap cars can come in on the same lap, and everybody save for Daniel Suarez was on the lead lap. So we had 30 some cars on pit road. Keselowski and Austin Dillon and AJ Allmendinger decided to stay out an extra lap and pit on their own to try to stay out of trouble, which there was with Todd Gilliland spinning. So again on USRN and JBM today, delighted to have you with us here at Talladega. Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama, of course, which is such a terrific place. It always gives us a great race. It's always so very exciting. So glad to have you aboard for it. 500 miles at Talladega, no easy feat for these drivers, and we saw a spectacular opening stage. And right now we have Daniel Suarez back on pit road. He did limp around to end that stage 2 laps down with damage from an early spin that was all his fault.
Yeah.
And, Matt, it gets worse for him, I'm afraid. He did not get the free pass because Anthony Alfredo made an unscheduled pit stop and went a lap down. He was the one that got the free pass. So Suarez stays 2 laps down. I haven't a single clue what we're looking at.
Yeah, that was some strange imagery. I did see, I noticed when we were mired in calling what was going on, there was a slow car in turn 1 as the field came through, so that must have been fast past Anthony Alfredo coming out of the pit to rejoin the queue. So to pick up on the line I said earlier, Daniel Suarez's day started badly, it's got worse and continues to be so.
And no one to blame but himself, unfortunately. A lot of things happen at Talladega that you can blame other people at. Not that.
Yeah, unapproved adjustment, obviously not perhaps his fault, but got themselves where they were and then gone away from there. Just want to quickly pick up on a comment from before we even went on the air when you asked me what the weather was doing. Most of that first stage, absolutely hosing it down.
Oh, okay then.
As soon as the race started, the heavens opened. Good job it didn't happen at Talladega.
Let's get a word from Dale Jarrett and Jimmy Johnson.
In line, the merging that took place, we didn't have an incident. That was really impressive driving by everybody out there.
Yeah, it was fun to watch, and we saw William Byron through the tri-oval make an aggressive move to get up to third there, get a lot of stage points, plus maybe learning something for later in the race. Kim.
And Kyle Larson came down to top off after losing so many spots on pit road. They also fixed the hood flap springs after that stop. Larson asked, can you guys look at the video and tell me what I can do better getting into my box, because that matters so much here on a busy pit road. He asked if I come in at a less of an angle but can be further out from the pit wall. He thinks that still gives the 17 of Chris Buescher enough room behind him, and then the ability to get out of the box behind Noah Gragson. Marty.
Kim, in fact, all the Hendrick Motorsports cars came down pit road for a little extra fuel. Steve, tires are never normally an issue at Talladega, but I want to show you the of Todd Gillen. This right front came off his car, and look at that, Steve. I mean, you don't normally see this at Talladega. How concerning would that be? There are a number of teams that have this same issue.
So I'm not super concerned. We just saw 60 laps on this set of tires. The only, I guess, little bit of a concern diff is 68 laps in that final stage. If you get behind and you have to get a creative strategy. But then again, I'm not riding in the car, right? As a crew chief, I'm kind of used to seeing a little bit of fabric. That's just what's underneath the rubber on the tire. I actually think even a track this big, rubber will get put down, ground into those grooves, so it should improve as the race goes. But something to keep an eye on if we do see tire issues late.
What do you think, Matt? We just saw that on our monitors. Don't see that at Talladega often, as Marty said.
No, absolutely not. A little bit concerning. That'll be interesting to see what teams do in stage 3, where we know we're going to have multiple pit stops. But our first stage is in the books, and we're ready to go back to racing at Talladega. I'm surprised they're throwing the green, because the field is massively spread throughout the from the start-finish line all the way back to turn 4. But here we go. Green flag up in the air, and it's Chris Buescher that leads them.
Buescher, winning his third stage of the season just a few moments ago, leads the field with Tyler Reddick to his outside of the green flag, and we get the second stage underway. A lot of drivers came down pit road on the one-to-go lap to top off on fuel, so they're all trying to get caught back up, and they just about have. Leaders off turn 2.
Chase Elliott trying to get out of the way, it looks like, or he's got an issue, one or the other, but he's slow at the back end of the field. At the front, Chris Buescher leading the inside lane, Tyler Reddick, leading the outside lane. He's got the push from Ricky Stenhouse Jr. It's Christopher Bell who's up behind Chris Buescher as they come through turn 3 and 4 on this first flying lap in stage 2.
They come back to the main straightaway. Buescher with a nose in front, Reddick to his right elbow. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who took the lead late in that stage, but couldn't find a way to get to the green and white checkered flag first. He's in there. Meanwhile, the third line already starting to form. That's led by Josh Berry. Easy to point him out in the bright orange and blue Sunny D Ford. And now some other cars try to get up in front of him, as we're going to have more three-wide racing, which we had plenty of in that opening segment.
I was just about to ask you, how quickly do you think it's going to get back to how it was? But it's already begun with the free wide stuff happening at the back end of the field. That will almost certainly migrate forward as this stage goes. And in fact, it's already happening, because here comes, I think that's Cindric, is it, leading the outside queue? Yeah, it is, with Joey Logano behind him to make it free wide right at the front end.
Yep, so that took about 2 laps, and that's it. Chase Elliott, they're certainly focusing in on him, are the NBC cameras. Of course, they've got their spotter, his spotter up there in Trey Poole, but he was very slow on the restart, Elliott. Doesn't look to be anything wrong. Boy, Josh Berry took a peek to the outside. Looked like he might have wanted to make it 4 wide, which we proved many, many laps at a time in that opening stage you can do, and can do cleanly.
Certainly can be nice to see what's happening at the front as we continue to focus in with the NBC cameras on Chase. As what is happening at the front is there's dodging and weaving going on between Bell and Blaney, and Buescher, who continues to lead. He's got Bell still painted behind him. Then it's Blaney, Reddick, Gibbs, I think that is. Yes. Yep. And then McDowell leading on the inside queue as they come out of turn 4.
Yeah, the 2 Monster Energy black cars, Tyler Reddick and Ty Gibbs, nose to tail, and they're both Ty and Tyler. That makes it so perfect for us. They are first and second in the middle lane, but up top is where the leaders are. Buescher, Bell, Blaney, all the Bs are right there around the top of the track. Now on the bottom, it's Michael McDowell, who's trying to make up ground, and he is doing.
Yeah, he is. He's not got too much help behind him, and he obviously knew that, because he jumps in front of Ty Gibbs and goes to the middle lane. On board with Shane Van Gisbergen, and we know it's him because he's got the cracked lens on his bumper cam. Up in the outside line in the number 16 WeatherTech car for Colleague Racing. And through turn 3 and 4 comes the field with Chris Buescher still at the front end.
Noah Gragson just in front of Shane Van Gisbergen. Then just in front of him off to the left is Kyle Busch, as the leaders through the tri-oval continue to be pulled around by Chris Buescher. Christopher Bell behind him, then Blaney, Cindric, and Logano. That's the top 5 on the top of the racetrack. In the middle, you've got Michael McDowell, Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. The bottom lane is a couple of rows back, Matt. Who is that leads that bottom lane? Trying to figure out myself. That's Corey LaJoie in the 51.
Yeah, Corey LaJoie in the 51. First time we've really seen him this high up towards the front of the field so far today. As the field flashes again through turn 3, but it's still Buescher leading on the high line. Here comes Joey Logano, McDowell, with a big move in the middle to try and get up towards the side of Christopher Bell, and has done so, battle on for second place.
Don't have many yellow cars, but they're all right together. Bell, McDowell, Blaney, Logano, a couple of cars back of that. We know McDowell's got an extremely strong car, both in single car speed and in the draft. He's shown us that all weekend and all year on these super speedways. Chris Buescher rim riding up the top of the 33 degrees of banking in turns 1 and 2, still in front.
And at turn 2 they come, McDowell in the middle, and LaJoie still leading the inside line, but they're 3 or 4 car lengths back from the real lead, as Bell gives a huge push this time down the back straight to Buescher heading to 3. They splinter off slightly in front of Ryan Blaney, but as we always say, he will come back together and does so. Biggest line is the top line, and he's being led by the race leader, and that's Chris Buescher.
Last time across the line, first to 30th was separated by 1.1 seconds. That's how close it is at Talladega. Through the tri-oval, Buescher continuing to be pushed by Bell and Blaney. Ford, Toyota, and Ford at the front. McDowell still tries to mount a rally on the bottom of the racetrack in that middle lane, not having much success with the Toyotas of Gibbs and Reddick at his back door.
No, settling down then on lap 13. It's another 60-lap stage, as was the first one, because it was about this sort of time when we had the first caution for Daniel Suarez. So in fact, it might have even been before this in the first stage. So we'll see what happens with tyres. If we go green throughout this second stage, then that might be a concern to some teams at the end if they don't take any tyres in the middle of this second stage.
Back to the main straightaway in front of this sellout crowd at the Talladega Superspeedway. And Michael McDowell starting to inch closer and closer to the front. And how is he doing it, Matt? How is he inching closer to the front? Well, he's inching closer to the left side door of Christopher Bell. The side drafting that you hear us talk about. You get closer to the car alongside of you. You can pull the air back on the car alongside of you, propel you forward. That's what McDowell's trying to do and has done.
Has done, yeah, and he's pulled the rest of that middle lane along with him. He was actually in front momentarily through the middle of 1 and 2, but the outside line will have the momentum on the back straight away, and the inside line is trying to come back into play a little bit with LaJoy, and he's got John Hunter Nemechek behind him on the inside, so they're a little bit further back than the right at the front, but they've got a great run this time through 3 and 4. With LaJoy leading that inside line. Buscher continues to lead.
All about aerodynamics here, isn't it? As Corey LaJoy and John Hunter Nemechek team up on that bottom line, trying to move forward. Eric Jones and Daniel Suarez are the ones trying to latch on to the end of that bottom line. So clearly that Suarez car is not too damaged to get into the pack and run competitively. Anthony Alfredo just in behind him in the 62. The Beard car that's always fast on the super speedways. Then the new look Strive 13, the aqua-colored car. That's A.J. Allmendinger, as I heard our friend of the show, Lee Diffie, call it at Daytona, Matt. The aqua-colored car. I rather like that.
Yes, friend of the network here at USRN. And A.J. Allmendinger also suffering from broken camera lens. He's got a big crack down his on top of that aqua-colored number 13. As we get our shot on board, he's running alongside Harrison Burton. They're about 6 or 7 rows back from the front of the field.
I have to say, through the chaos that was stage 1 and calling all of that 3 and 4 ride racing, I never did see that black and hot pink Daniel Suarez car in the lead pack. So important to see that even though he's off the lead lap by 2, he is still in this pack and running competitively. So if he can ever get back on the lead lap, Matt, still a contender. New leader at the front.
Yeah, that's good news for Suarez. He makes the car is straight and true, and they've got some performance. But new leader at the front, Corey LaJoy leading the lap last time by, so the inside line has got the momentum going. Although they've just lost a car because who was that in the row? LaJoy's jumped up to take the air off of the red car in the middle. Can't quite see who that was, but LaJoy now middle, and on the outside, Chris Buscher.
That's the Arby's car of Cody Ware. Cody Ware in the 15 towards the front. The last time he was in a cup race, he was in the Arby's-sponsored car. And, Matt, it was at Bristol a couple of weeks ago, the night race. Jackson Lambros and I sat here and called that race, and I think 30 times we made mention, here go the leaders, lapping Cody Ware. Well, right now at Talladega, he's second.
The beauty of this, and we will always talk about it at the beginning of the season at Daytona with the dual races. If you come and you've got a decent car, you've got a chance. And it's happening again here with Corey LaJoy and Cody Ware, first and second at Talladega in the middle of a playoff race in 2024. It's madness. They've got Michael McDowell, the pole sitter, up behind them, and then Ty Gibbs. Still the outside line is Buscher, Bell, Blaney, and Cindric.
Arby's has the meats, and right now they have the car second in line at Talladega as the Fords of LaJoy and Ware come across the line first and second. They've got Michael McDowell just behind them, third on the inside, but topside is where Chris Buscher and Christopher Bell again charge back at the top of the banking to try to retake the lead. They can't find it right now. It belongs to Corey LaJoy.
Arby's may have the meats there. If there are any of their directors are watching this race this afternoon, they might have the meat sweat to see their car in second position. And they are racing their way down the back straight with McDowell pushing them. And now McDowell decides to give up on having the meat, and he jumps to the outside to pick up Chris Buscher and try to make a move round him. LaJoy, though, jumps and picks up McDowell, leaving Cody Ware at the front of the inside queue.
Leaders off of turn number 4, and Cody Ware now leads the inside lane with Christopher Bell behind him. Michael McDowell punches his way back up into second. Now he might take a peek to the inside of LaJoy. LaJoy throws a block on him at the line as they go off to turn 1. Corey LaJoy in front of the field. Michael McDowell behind him second. Double file from third on back with Buscher and Ware.
You can tell, can't you, just by looking at this, the guys that don't run that often at the front against the guys that do. Buscher and Bell and Blaney and Cindric and Logano all just keeping in a line on the outside. It's all these interlopers that are dodging and weaving all over the place. McDowell to the inside. And as I say that, Busher says, I've had enough of this. And he goes from elevator move top to bottom to pick up McDowell, swings inside of Corey LaJoie, and now it's McDowell leading from Busher and Ware. And they all of them go back to the top.
Yeah, I think Christopher Bell didn't want to be, or I think Michael McDowell didn't trust those two guys. And trust is such a big part of this kind of racing, Matt. And when you don't see Corey LaJoie up front often, when you don't even see Cody Ware on the track every week, these guys might not want to run so close to them. And right now, LaJoie and Ware are struggling to get drafting help. Hey, who's that moving up into fourth? That's the Daytona winner for the Wood brothers, Harrison Burton.
Good to see them get another good result if it all comes to pass this afternoon for Harrison. Of course, out of a ride with that team at the end of the season. Dodging and weaving going on at the back end of the pack there. Alex Bowman, by the way, is one of the playoff guys that's had I'm just going to ride for the minute. He's all the way into the mid-30s running around at the back end of this queue. But it's still Chris Busher leading. And here comes McDowell in the middle.
McDowell continues to charge topside. Look at this, Cody Ware. No one wants to stay behind Cody Ware. On the top of the track in the tri-oval, Ryan Blaney dipped to his inside. Everyone behind Blaney followed the 12. And Cody Ware, hope you enjoyed your time at the front. Maybe there's more to come later. But right now, he's going backwards. And Matt, in the space of about a lap and a half, he's gone from second to 32nd.
Yeah, it doesn't take long when you get forced into your own lane there, which is what happened to Cody coming through the tri-oval. So he's gone to the back end of this field, and the outside line has got some huge momentum down the back straight away. And Cindric had a massive push to Ryan Blaney. That was almost danger time as they headed towards turn 3. Blaney got out of it, and McDowell was almost swept up in all of that as well.
Yeah, it sure was. As Cindric, well, the Penske cars have finally found each other, haven't they? All three of them, nose to tail, top of the track. And here's Blaney with the push from Cindric and Logano. Pulls up alongside Michael McDowell and at the line. McDowell leads, but only slightly. Ryan Blaney puts his nose in front on the approach to turn 1, and this is exactly what the Penske cars always want to see, Matt. They want to see those three cars nose to tail because those are great super speedway racers.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was the same when Keselowski was in the 2 as well, wasn't it? Those three always got together, and they're doing it again here, and they're starting to edge their way forward, although Joey Logano says, let's go down a lane, and he brings them all with him to pick up the front of Corey LaJoie, and I think Ricky Stenhouse may have gone with them as well. So Chris Busher leading the inside line. A lot of sunshine in the faces of the guys as they come out of turn 4.
And sweep back up onto the main straightaway as Busher pushes McDowell hard, getting to the tri-oval. How about the leader of the outside line? That's Shane Van Gisbergen, who had the Wendy's colors on his Chevrolet when he ran this race in the spring, Matt. And you might remember he made a big move to try to get to the top in the late laps, to try to get to the front. It didn't quite work out for him. He's at the top here, and he's heading to the front.
Certainly is. Ryan Blaney weaving around, and that maybe he knew that outside lane was coming with SVG at the front of it, heading towards turn 3. Blaney still leads. It's Ross Chastain giving SVG the push. Two Trackhouse guys together, up on the high side. Through turn 3 they come. On board with Eric Jones, I believe this is, for some random reason in the middle of the field. I'd like to be seeing the front, and Blaney is the leader.
Here comes a bunch of cars peeling from the bottom of the racetrack to pit road here. Our first set of green flag pit stops in this race. Noah Gragson got elbowed slightly onto the grass by his teammate Ryan Preece. These are all Fords, about 7 of them on pit road here.
McDowell is there, and Kim standing by for Michael McDowell.
McDowell just given the command by his crew chief, Travis Peterson. It's going to be about 4 seconds of fuel. So you see the fuel engaging right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and go, they're telling him.
Well, as you see God bless Kuhn. All she did there was count to 4.
Count.
4 seconds is not how quickly you can count to 4, but anyway, here come the leaders. Ryan Blaney, Austin Cindric, Joey Logano off turn 4. Are we going to see any more dip down? No. And they will stay on the racetrack here with now 2 distinct lines. No one in this lead group now 3 wide. It's Blaney in front of the bottom. Shane Van Gisbergen leads the top. A.J. Allmendinger has lost the draft. And well behind all of it, 2 lonely Fords on pit road. Todd Gilliland and Brad Keselowski coming in together. And I think, Matt, Keselowski couldn't make it to pit road last time. That's why he was so far back. He was going to come, couldn't.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of plowing into Noah Gregson, he just stayed on the track, but he's lost a lot of time in that process.
I think Todd Gilliland was in the queue behind Brad as well, so he had to stay out. Through turn 4 they come as the leaders lap. I think that's BJ McLeod getting way out of the way. Nice driving from BJ, staying out of the way at the exit of turn 4. No takers to pit lane this time.
Blaney holds on to the lead as now those Fords that just came down. It's always important, Matt, because of the draft. If you come to pit road under green, you cannot be alone. And these Fords are trying to do what the Toyotas attempted to do late in the spring, pit early, get in a line together, and then just go hard.
Caught me off guard. I don't know about you, but I didn't expect to see the pit stops that early with those guys. So they're obviously strategizing their way towards the end of the stage. Talking of strategizing, Shane Van Gisbergen still leading this outside lane, being pushed by Ross Chastain, and he's got a chance of leading a Talladega lap here if he's not too careful. The Fords come across the line just over 3/4 of a lap behind.
Blaney holding on to the lead out of turn 4. Van Gisbergen, though, with Ross Chastain, teammate to be full-time in the Cup Series next year, giving him a big push. Here comes Shane! Did he lead that lap at the line? Don't think so, but he's got his nose in front in turn 1. Blaney was in front by 4/1000ths of a second at the line, but Shane Van Gisbergen trying to lead laps in a NASCAR Cup Series race at Talladega, and he's got the right guy on the call coming at him to try to call him to the lead.
He's got the right guy behind him, giving him the push of Ross Chastain. I think we're going to talk a lot about Shane Van Gisbergen across the whole weekend, next weekend at the Roval, in the Xfinity Series on Saturday and in the Cup race. But he's making a statement here on Sunday at Talladega. There's a third line trying to be formed on the extreme outside with Austin Dillon trying to lead the front of it. And Van Gisbergen's dropped back slightly as they come through 4. Blaney still leading.
Here comes Van Gisbergen again, up the top of the track, through the tri-oval, gets alongside Cindric, can't quite get alongside Blaney. Chastain, the one still pushing him, of course, as they go back into turns 1 and 2. You are right, though, Matt. Those, 6 or 7 Fords came in on lap 26 of 60 in the stage, earlier than you would have expected. Does it help that they were able to not sit as long for fuel? Is that the plan?
Yeah, I guess so. Because, it was, as Kim told us, there were about 4 to 5 second stops for everybody. They will have plenty in the tank now to get them to the end of the stage and then reshuffle the pack again with probably tyre stops as well at the end. So it's all shuffling around, and we'll see once the rest of the field pits shortly, as Van Gisbergen does lead that lap at the line, where they'll end up. But, of course, these guys in the big pack will still be going much quicker than those Fords in their small little group further back.
That was the 8th time that Shane Van Gisbergen has led a lap in a NASCAR Cup Series race, Matt. He's only run 11 of these. This is his 11th start. He's led in 8 of them now.
That's madness. He's picking this up extremely quickly. We're going to be talking a lot about him next weekend and next year. He now leads. He drops to the bottom to pick up Ryan Blaney. Van Gisbergen leading at Talladega. Is there any takers to the pit lane this time? No.
That last lap was the 20th lap of his Cup Series career that he has led as he comes to the line once again, or I beg your pardon, 20th lap he's led this season, I should say. He led 3 at Talladega here in the spring. He led 2 at Charlotte in the 600, 9 in Chicago in a race where he had the best car, 4 laps he led at Darlington, and he led, of course, 1 at Watkins Glen, and, of course, in that race he was 1 lap short of winning.
Yeah, absolutely right. I just didn't expect him to pick up this oval stuff so quickly, and he really has. Justin Haley being lapped, I think that was. No, he was getting out of it. He was 10th, so maybe he's trying to figure his way to the pit lane. It was the 7 car, but he was in the front group and has dropped back.
So when will this group of drivers come to pit road? Again, those 7 Fords came in at lap 26 of 60 in this stage, a little earlier than we expected them to. Now the question is, can Shane Van Gisbergen control a draft on a super speedway from the front? He's going to have to work the lines. Here he is off turn 2, top side in front of Chastain, goes to the bottom to cover off Blaney. Well done.
certainly was, and he'll pick up the push from Ryan. We're looking at Shane Van Gisbergen. If you're watching NBC pictures, he is absolutely mashed to the floorboards, full throttle. We talked about the throttle usage earlier on in stage 1. These guys are going very, very hard indeed. Are we going to see any people coming to pit lane this time? No, we are not.
They stay on the racetrack as Van Gisbergen leads. He covered off Blaney on the bottom. It opens up the door top side for Ross Chastain, and Ross is going to sneak the lead away from him by a nose at the line. But here's SVG powering back on the bottom of the racetrack. Ryan Blaney, Austin Cindric, and Joey Logano. The 3 Penske cars are lined up at the back door to push.
Third lane hasn't really got going. Just trying to see where Austin Dillon is, but he's a long, long way back. And we're about to see this main pack pick up some of the back end of the Ford group. Keselowski and Todd Gilliland, and there was another car there as well, I didn't quite catch who it was, are about to be swallowed up here by the main field as they come through turns 3 and 4 for another lap number 32 of stage 2.
Are you at all surprised, Matt, that when those 7 cars pitted, how many laps ago was that 10 laps, a little bit, yeah. About 10 laps ago. They were all Fords, but none of the Penske cars were with them. Now, that's very interesting to me. Those Penske cars at the front are still on the track and still, of course, at the front of the pack.
Well, yes, that is a bit of a surprise, and I kind of thought we would have seen some other people come in the laps that we've run since then, and they haven't. So, definitely a split strategy from the SHR and RFK cars, which most of those guys were, and McDowell, that pitted, and the rest of the Ford group and the rest of the field as they come through 3 and 4. And those guys are about to get absolutely swallowed here by the main field.
Yeah, only 3 of them here. Keselowski, Ware, and Gilliland are those 3 that the leaders are going to have to maneuver their way around. Van Gisbergen already plotting which lane he wants to be in. He moved to the middle. Ryan Blaney did not. I think he's going to box Blaney in here, though. That's a pretty good move there from Shane Van Gisbergen to try to box Blaney in, but Blaney moves from middle to bottom to split Gilliland, and that gets a bit messy off 2.
Yeah, really messy. Gilliland tried to jump up and take the middle away from Ryan as Cody Ware goes to the middle to try and stay out of the way. These guys do not want to lose this draft, and they're trying to do what Daniel Suarez failed to do earlier and keep in it. At the front, Van Gisbergen still continues to lead. Keselowski has stayed ahead of Blaney. Those guys' former teammates, of course. As they come through 4, Van Gisbergen continues to be the leader.
Here comes
a couple of Toyotas.
Yep, Toyotas to pit road, led by Bell, followed by Gibbs. Truex, Reddick, Truex spins. Martin Truex Jr. spins. Is he going to come up into somebody? No. Everyone misses him. That's about like Truex's luck in his career at these tracks. He gets back going.
Right, Christopher Bell led the Toyotas down here. He will do fuel only, as you saw the 19 spinning. That'll break up their cars. Dave.
Denny Hamlin, fuel only. He is gone.
So Hamlin leaves. And, Matt, that's so easy to do here, to have a car spin on the entrance to pit road in a big pack. Either get hit or, of course, they don't run a lot of brakes here, heavy brakes here, obviously, so they run pretty heavy rear brakes, and you can lock up the rear tires, and that may have been what happened to Truex.
Yeah, and of course the brake balance adjustment in the car would have been wound perhaps too far back for some of these guys that we always see spinning coming into the pit lane. It's the only time they really use the brakes is them slowing down to pit lane, whether it be under caution or especially under green. So mistake there from Truex, but we stayed green. He only had about 10 meters to go when he got himself pointed in the right direction to get to his pit box. So a little bit embarrassing for Mark Truex Jr. But as you say, that's kind of his luck on these big super speedway tracks in his career. The field is in turn 3. There's a slow car towards the back of this main field. I was trying to pick out there a red coloured machine. Didn't quite see who it was, but it's Van Gisbergen still leading. Are we going to see some of these Chevrolets come this time? No, we are not.
And they did put a lap on Truex, this group. Truex, of course, would have lost all that time away from his Toyotas, and now he is a lap down.
That would have been the red car that I saw then.
Let's have another look. Look to the right-hand side of your screen. The bright orange and black machine of Martin Truex Jr. spinning on entry.
That's what I'm talking about. That's one of the most experienced race car drivers we have in the field. And you can see it just locks the rear brakes up.
Yep. Yeah, no contact at all. Not even close to anyone, really. just lock those rear brakes up as we thought may have happened, and it was correct. As Shane Van Gisbergen continues to lead in turn 3. It's so interesting, Matt. Martin Truex Jr., when he was in what was then known as the Busch Series, 3 straight Talladega wins from 2004 to 2006. 3 in a row. In a couple of those races, outdueling Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Tony Stewart and Michael Waltrip and a few really good Super Speedway Cup drivers. But he goes full-time Cup, and he has barely had any success at these Super Speedways.
No, the closest he came, of course, was the Daytona 500 when he was beaten by Denny Hamlin by the width of his bumper, the thickness of the paint on the bumper. But other than that, it's been, just disastrous, really, for Truex. Always ends up somehow managing to get himself in the big accident somewhere along the line, or, just like, as we've just seen, makes an error coming into the pit lane. Here are the Ford group picking their way back through some of the Toyota group down at the start-finish line. So they're all going to get together here. But, of course, they are way down in terms of track position against the main leaders still being led by SVG.
Yeah, Toyota's got out in front of the Fords. Actually a bit surprising to me because the Toyota, some of them had to slow down to avoid Truex, but they're all moving and shaking. Matt, coming to you.
Yeah, as the Fords come through, as they're up to full speed, some of these Toyotas still just not quite there. Wallace and Bell and Hamlin and Gibbs and Tyler Reddick also as they come through turn number 3. So Chris Buescher will lead pack 2 of this race, which has got McDowell in there as well, and a couple of the others, Josh Berry, Roman Gregson, and now the Toyotas have joined in that group. 22 laps to go for the leaders in stage 2.
It'll be interesting to see, as we've just crossed halfway, by the way. Here's some Chevrolets pitting, not all of them. Ross Chastain, William Byron, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Daniel Suarez. Those are the cars that are on pit road this time. Will not get a report from NBC down on pit road this time around. But I was just about to say, it'll be very interesting to see how long these Chevrolets stay on pit road for fuel and where they come out in relation to the drivers that have already stopped. Because I'm just thinking here, Matt, how long do they have to wait for fuel? They only have about 21 to go in the stage. So if you can get whatever it turns out to be to get 20 laps in, then, pit again when the stage caution comes out. So this is interesting.
I think we're going to see the rest of the guys perhaps come here because it's all thinned out at the front, and here they come with Van Gisbergen leading them in. We're on board with Joey Logano. A couple of people staying out, although Keselowski was in the front end of this group, but that's Daniel Hemrick having a big slide at the back end of the train coming in, but he avoids everybody and the wall somehow.
Continues. Here's the rest of the Fords coming down pit road, including all of Team Penske, Parker.
Right now, so Joey Logano in the 22 with their fuel only as he joined this pack as they pitted.
Oh! Austin Dillon trying to turn into his box, had the other Austin beside of him, Cindric. Dillon had to get on the brakes to avoid contact, but he's now into his box late, and then, of course, will be out late and might very well lose this line of traffic. And where will these Chevrolets, and Penske Fords, how will they be able to get up to speed, and where will they be in relation to everyone else? We're about to see an IndyCar kind of blend here, Matt. Just more cars in this blend than we see in IndyCar.
Down the back straight is filled with cars at all various types of speed. Justin Haley, by the way, now is the leader. He stayed out along with a bunch of others. Although, in fact, it's not that many. We'll wait for timing and scoring to loop round as they come across the line this time. I don't think it's that many at all. As the field comes through turn 4, the field that's left at the front end comes through turn 4 with Austin Cindric out the front of it. Ross Chastain making a big move to pass Joey Logano.
Yeah, everyone trying to get back in line, and in a pat, Chastain broke quickly to the outside in the tri-oval of Joey Logano, and he had Chevrolets with him to go with him, Alex Bowman and Kyle Larson. So they pick off Logano. Didn't mean to say it that way, sorry. But it looks like of the drivers that's pitted here, Matt, it's Austin Cindric ahead of everybody.
Yes, Cindric, and then...
then Chase Elliott.
Chase Elliott, sorry, dodging in the second car. Kyle Busch dodging and weaving around as this pack will all come back together again for the race for the points at the end of stage 2. So it's Cindric, Elliott, Blaney, the top 3. Van Gisbergen is in 4th position, I think, off the in this front group. Yes, he is. Alex Bowman is in there, as is Kyle Larson.
And everyone's shuffling around here to try to get queued back up in a pack, but it's very strung out. Most of the racing is 1 or 2 lanes wide. And if we get this situation in the final stage, Matt, then those final pit stops are going to be very important because some of these guys have lost out on track position massively, including Michael McDowell, who's about 20 cars back of the leaders.
Yeah, and a lot of time as well. So it's really not worked. Justin Haley leads, and he's about to be caught by these guys. So we saw Haley dropping back. I think he stopped. We didn't even see it, but I think he must have stopped earlier than everybody in this group and got out ahead of them all. And he's now about to be caught by Austin Cindric.
I don't know how he got that far ahead of everybody. He's
about to
be that far behind everybody, as in the tri-oval. Cindric eases to driver's right. Everyone, of course, goes with Cindric, and around the outside of Justin Haley they go, and Haley going to have to try to latch onto the back of someone and hope that he doesn't get railroaded here, but I think he's hoping against hope on that.
He almost got in behind Kyle Busch, but didn't quite make it, and here comes William Byron with the second wave of cars coming through.
That's not comfortable.
I was holding my breath there because there was all manner of dodging and weaving going on at the back end of the field. And we're going to get a replay of the Daniel Hemrick incident as he came to the pit lane like he was in the D1 Drift Championship, and he almost got Kyle Busch. He almost got the boom cam. He almost got the wall down there at pit in. And here's the Austin on Austin incident. Cindric leaving as you documented as Dillon came in.
Amazing that Hemrick didn't get caught for speeding, or at least we haven't gotten word that he did, because when you lock the rear brakes up like that, Matt, the only way to keep from spinning is to jab the throttle. And he did pick up plenty of speed coming to the line, so I hope he didn't get caught there. I just want to give you 16 laps to go in this stage, and the pack is starting to queue up and pack up again. I just want to give you real quick. Now, we'll do this at the end of the stage if possible. Hard to do this in a big pack at Talladega. Live playoff standings towards the bubble. Bell plus 12, Bowman plus 10, Hamlin plus 3, Logano minus 3, how about that? Reddick minus 7, Briscoe 34 back, Suarez 41 back. We'll try to give you an updated look at that at the end of the stage when all the stage points have been awarded. Again, very difficult to do that in this race and any other with the live standings with positions changing as often as they do here. Let's pick up the leaders down the 4,000-foot back straightaway. Ryan Blaney making moves.
Yeah, jumped to the outside of Van Gisbergen and took Kyle Busch with him, and then Ross Chastain. Cindric jumps up to pick up his teammate, and that leaves Chase Elliott on the inside leading with Van Gisbergen in second position as they come through turn number 4. But it is going to be Austin Cindric continuing the lead with his teammate Ryan Blaney giving him the shove.
Well, Cindric won a stage here in the spring. He won 2 stages at Atlanta, if I'm not too terribly mistaken, without looking at it. Yeah. And this is a guy that needs points after what happened at Kansas last week. Remember, he was running top 10. Pit road penalty put him in the back. He then spun, never recovered from there. So Cindric needs points, and he's in position to get plenty.
And talking of people needing points, I think we can safely say that Daniel Suarez will need to win next week to get himself out of the hole that they're in, unless something miraculous happens for the rest of his afternoon after their early incident in this race.
Uh-oh, cue up the crowd! Cue up the crowd!
And it is going to be Shane Van Gisbergen about to push Chase Elliott to the lead. Didn't quite happen as the Penske's got hooked together off 4.
Chase has been really nowhere close to the front except for after these pit stops here. But here he is trying to get towards the front as once again the leaders go around. That's J.J. Yaley in the black 44 for the New York racing team that's going a lap down. He and B.J. McLeod very easily confused with the looks of those cars. But it's Yaley going a lap down to the leaders in turn 2.
Field down the back straightaway 2 by 2 for the first 20 or so cars perhaps, with the 2 Penske cars now slightly ahead of Austin Cindric being pushed by Blaney. He's got Busch and Chastain and Bowman behind him. Inside lane is Elliott, Van Gisbergen, Byron, Darrell Wallace Jr. towards the front for the first time today, and then Daniel Hemrick.
Yeah, talk about Chase Elliott not being towards the front often today. Neither has Wallace, as you mentioned, but he's fourth in the inside line. Former Talladega winner, always seems to be in the mix on these super speedways late. Remember how close he was to winning the spring race here last year in 23. He was trying to take the lead from Kyle Busch as they took the white flag, and then they crashed behind. Cindric and Blaney still lead the field to the backstretch.
Getting a good push from Kyle Busch as well in that bright blue number 8 with a Lucas sponsorship. Chase Elliott continues to lead the inside line, but he's 3 cars back now from Cindric out front through turn 3 and 4. There'll be 11 laps to go in stage 2 at the line. We saw how mad it got towards the end of stage 1. Are we going to see a repeat?
Well, I don't know why we wouldn't, but we'll see, because, again, all of these guys, all of the drivers in the playoffs, they are desperate for points. And as I mentioned, definitely Cindric after what happened to him last week. He shows the way to turn 1. Teammate Ryan Blaney, basically a backseat driver of that discount tire number 2. They're off the corner.
Certainly are. As they come down the straightaway again, Elliott side by side with Blaney, who's, you mentioned, second in the queue. Kyle Busch giving Blaney another good shove down the back straight. But everybody just keeping themselves in line for the moment. Once we get to maybe 5 or 4 to go, that's when you'll see everybody trying to get themselves lined up and make moves towards the front. But it's still Cindric in the air at the moment.
But Chase Elliott mounts a charge down low, pushed along still by Shane Van Gisbergen. As Elliott with a nose in front of Cindric. Now Cindric charges back at the line. Cindric just had the lead. Big push from Blaney. Elliott not going anywhere as he digs hard on the bottom. Elliott, the winner of this race a couple of years ago. In fact, Matt, it was Ryan Blaney who he beat to the line. They're side to side.
Third line trying to be manipulated at the back end of the field here, but I'm not sure that's going to happen and go anywhere as the two Penske cars get themselves a little bit further out in front this time, heading towards turn 3. Will they stay in the outside line? They do for the moment, instead of picking up Chase Elliott, who's still getting a great push from Shane Van Gisbergen down there on the inside.
They clear turn 4 and come back to the main straightaway, 4,400 feet long, through the tri-oval, banked at 17 degrees. Cindric gets a muscular push again from Blaney. That pushes Cindric clear to the lead at the line. Blaney behind him second. Now the 8 and 9 cars run door to door to turn 1. That's Kyle Busch in the middle, Chase Elliott to his left elbow, and now Elliott once again begins to move forward with drafting assistance from SVG.
You would imagine, if everything stays equal here, that Blaney will stay behind Cindric here and help his teammate at the end of this stage, unless it all gets confused and muddled up. So I think those two are locked together to the end here, unless, as I say, something happens. There's some moving and shaking going around at the back. You just need to see what Shane Van Gisbergen does here, but he's in the middle of 2 Hendrick Motorsports cars with William Byron behind him. I'm sure Chase Elliott would prefer Byron but to be behind him than SVG.
To that point, Matt, of Ryan Blaney, how aggressive will he get? Now, obviously, this can all change in the blink of an eye, but Blaney currently is plus 44 in the live standings. If you're gauging who needs a stage win more, you would say Cindric right now needs it more than Blaney.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that conversation has happened at some stage today, or has happened on the radio since the race started, or even since those pit stops cycled through between Ryan, Blaney and Austin Cindric, perhaps as well. We look at Chase Briscoe. He's been yo-yoing all day long, and he's now in 28th position, I think that said before the graphic disappeared. He's alongside Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and he's trying to lead the third lane. And as I say that, he jumps back in line.
Yeah, and teammates right behind him, and Noah Gragson and Ryan Preece, so the SHR cars staying together. Meanwhile, Daniel Suarez has lost this draft again, so he was in the pack at one point in this stage, and we notated that. Not anymore. The good news for Daniel, finally some good news, Matt. If no one else falls off the lead lap in these next 6 laps, he is in position for the free pass and to get back on the lead lap.
Okay, so he's 1 lap down, so that's cool.
Yeah, took a wave around. Took a wave around at one point to get 1 down, yes.
Yeah, would have been.
But
would have been at the end of stage 1, I guess. So that'll be interesting to see what they do with Suarez if he get back on the lead lap. Just perfectly timed then at the end of the second stage, ready for the payout window in stage 3. Chase Elliott to the lead.
Here's the problem. Anthony Alfredo is the guy that could take that away from him. He is in a group of 4 that are closing in on Suarez, who's out of a draft completely. So Daniel might be in trouble there with Alfredo, who was the one that took the free pass from him in stage 1, remember. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye for this battle for the lead that Chase Elliott is going for.
Cindric led at the line. Elliott leads off turn 2 with the Van Gisbergen push. A little bit of a wiggle from the 9.
Whoa.
As they're in the middle of the back straightaway. Those two have splintered away slightly from Byron in third. And Elliott this time has got himself alongside Cindric as they head into turn 3. Furthest he's been up alongside at that portion of the racetrack. Can he get himself clear and get across the front of those two Penske cars?
Hasn't done it quite yet. Elliott muscling his way on the bottom. Austin Cindric comes back to his right elbow. Push from Blaney is healthy. Through the tri-oval and across the line. Cindric still leads. There is a car they're closing in on. Just for the sake of that Daniel Suarez conversation, these leaders will be going by him in about anywhere between 30 and 45 seconds, Matt. Not sure who that is and if they're already off the lead lap or not.
It might be JJ Yeley perhaps again at the back end of the field. We'll catch up with it in a minute. I think it might be AJ Allmendinger. But anyway, let's see what's going on at the front as Elliott still side by side with Cindric. Through the corner they come, and again it's going to be close off the corner here. Can Blaney get back to the bumper of Cindric? He will do. It is AJ Allmendinger that they're about to catch.
It is, and he is still on the lead lap, so that could spoil Suarez again on getting the free pass. They're going to engulf Allmendinger as the leaders come across the line. AJ's committed to the bottom. There needs to be enough room given. Elliott, Van Gisbergen, Byron in that middle lane all weave their way around Allmendinger. Fight for the lead is still on off 2.
And they got round safely. That's one of the things that always scares me at these big tracks going into turn 1 when there's a slow car on the inside. We've seen it multiple times in the past where it all goes wrong as the leaders are now back at the other end of the back straightaway. And this time Chase Elliott has got his nose slightly ahead of Austin Cindric through the middle of 3 and 4. Still being pushed by Van Gisbergen. Free to go at the line.
Twice a Talladega winner, Chase Elliott. He leads off turn 4. It's a tenuous lead. Here's a car coming to pit road. Is that Michael McDowell? It is. And this cannot be good there. I wonder if they didn't get his car full of fuel. This was the last chance he could come to pit road during this stage and not be penalized. Wonder if they didn't get full of fuel, or if they think, Matt, that get him in, get him out, don't lose a lap, don't have to pit at the end of the stage. I just don't know why that would be the strategy.
Well, their car was working very well at the front, wasn't it? It hasn't worked so well back in the traffic, perhaps, but maybe that's what they're going to try and do here. But you have to be a very quick stop with 4 tyres changed, because they'll have to do that as the leaders are in 3. And this time, the Penske cars have separated slightly, and this is all helping Chase Elliott stay side by side with Cindric.
2 by 2, this big pack of leaders, and Austin Cindric gets the batteries charged at the back door from Ryan Blaney, and that puts Cindric in front. 2 to go here in this stage. Cindric leads. Blaney behind him. He stayed behind him basically this entire run after the pit stops. It's Chase Elliott and Shane Van Gisbergen that leads the bottom.
In the Daniel Suarez story, he's been caught by Christopher Bell and Anthony Alfredo, so we'll keep up with that. He's ahead for the moment, but we'll keep up with that in a minute if it changes. Down the back straight come the leaders. It'll be the final lap of the stage when they get back to the start-finish line, should I say, and it is side by side between Austin Cindric and Chase Elliott, as it has been for the last 10 laps or so.
As we've mentioned, the end of the stages is a chance for these drivers to practice the end of the race. Chris Buescher nailed it earlier. Here they come to start the last lap of stage 2. Blaney pushes Cindric back ahead of Elliott. Across the line, Austin Cindric's white and black number 2 leads. He doesn't even think for a second of diving down in front of Elliott to break away from Blaney. He stays in the middle of the racetrack. Austin Cindric leads in turn 2.
Kyle Busch looking interested, third car back on the outside to try and make a move. He and Ross Chastain would like to spoil the Penske party at the front. Here comes the inside lane, picking up the momentum. Van Gisbergen giving Chase Elliott a really good push down the middle of the straight towards turn 3. Cindric, though, with his whole car out clear of Elliott, is looking odds on here for the stage win. Through the middle of 3 and 4, he's got a little bit separated from Ryan Blaney. He had a chance to go down there and take Chase Elliott's line away, didn't do it.
Here comes Kyle Busch. He jumps to the outside of Blaney. Help from Chastain. It puts Blaney in the middle, but it sets Austin Cindric free. Oh, Blaney gets turned head-on into the wall and into Ross Chastain. Ryan Blaney crashes hard at the end of stage 2. He got turned head-on into the wall, collecting Ross Chastain. The stage ends, and the race ends for Ryan Blaney. We just told you a few laps ago that in the live standings he was plus 44. You can forget that. That's a head-on impact. He did come across the line 8th in the stage, so he does get 3 points, but that's it.
Ross Chastain's car's come to a stop in turn 1 with fire. AMR safety crew on scene quickly as always. They're actually getting the window net down for Ross, so we hope that Ross is okay. Blaney has continued on around the racetrack with right front damage, but his day, as you said, is pretty much done. That was a huge impact as the black and grey smoke billows out from the Trackhouse number 1, last week's winner, this week's barbecue, and he's being helped out of the car by the AMR safety crew, which is great to see, and walking away nicely, so that is good. But the car is done, and as is probably, by the looks of things, the Pennzoil number 12.
Gosh. I don't know if he's able to turn it.
He's staying out.
I don't think he's... Well, when Busch got to his outside, Blaney lost his drafting help. Oh, my goodness.
And then he got hit by Alex Bowman.
Oh, Lord. What an impact. Heavy impact at that. And nowhere for Ross Chastain to go either. Just slammed into the right side of Blaney. Oh, man.
I was going to say, I'm not sure why the pictures are frozen in that particular spot, but they haven't now, so that's good news. But yeah, massive, and that's big for the championship and big for one of our ones to watch, and probably that he was the favourite on the money line going into today was Ryan Blaney, and his stage 2 will be as far as he goes in the day, thanks to a mistimed push in the tri-oval from Alex Bowman. We talk about the tri-oval all the time here as being a proper corner, and I talked about it before, that pushing in the corners is bad, or pushing in the tri-oval coming to the end of the stage has ended up being the end of the day for Ross Chastain and Ryan Blaney. Shane Van Gisbergen got a piece of that damage as well on the right-hand side. He got hit by, I think it was Blaney, went left into Shane and then up the track towards the outside wall. So hopefully for Van Gisbergen, who's got a chunk of stage points there, not that it matters too much to him, his car is okay. He's continued on the racetrack in 3rd place. Austin Cindric, he's stage 2 winner.
Wow. And that's why you have to just add context when you say, oh, I don't know, things like Austin Cindric needs the stage win more than Ryan Blaney. Well, now, Blaney, we'll see how this turns out when the stage points are awarded. We'll try to give you an update at the live standings here, how it's going to look heading into this final stage. But obviously he had, when we mentioned that, with what, Matt, 10, 12 to go in the stage, he was plus 44. Almost all of that will be gone now.
Yeah, he'll be back down towards the bubble once this all shuffles through. We've got obviously pit cycle to come as well. So we'll give you an updated points look when we can, once we get through this next cycle of pit stops. And before we do that, let's do a USRN NFL update, because the early games have now finished as I've clicked on the wrong button. Let's give you some full timers from the early games. That's good news. We'll come to that in a second. The Bears did defeat the Panthers, Kel Surprise, 36-10. And Cleveland got beaten up big time by Washington, 34-13 to the Commanders. The Dolphins turned it round, unfortunately for you, 15-10 to Miami. Close game in Indianapolis, which the Colts have lost out by a field goal, 37-34 against Jacksonville. Texans won by 3 points against the Bills, 23-20. And an overtime finish at the bank, Ravens 41, Bengals 38.
Oh, my gosh. Boy, Cincinnati
yeah,
can't buy a break.
that's an
Cincinnati.
overtime. First quarter's going on in the late round of games. Raiders up 10-0 against the Broncos. They're just about to get to the end of the first quarter in that game. Cardinals 7, 49ers 3. No score in the other two games, Seahawks Giants and Rams Packers.
So that's good news on the Miami-New England score. It didn't go over.
Oh, it's good news. Sorry, I thought you had New England to win. Right, okay.
No, just took the under. And good news that Washington beat Cleveland. So we're watching San Francisco and Seattle here in this second wave.
Sunday Night Football is Cowboys Steelers and then Chiefs Saints on the MNF, to use a Sky Sports reference, tomorrow.
Steelers, both of those games on USRN. Tonight, Pittsburgh, Dallas. Tomorrow night, New Orleans, Kansas City. Under the Stage 2 caution, and the leaders are on pit road.
As of now, Steve, Alex Bowman has earned points in every stage of the playoffs except one. He gets points here, said he's a little bit freer than he would like. His teammate William Byron twice has driven from mid-pack, mid-stage, up to the front. He has earned the most points today. The water's a little bit warm in the 24. That's the only complaint.
Chase Elliott on your bottom left missed that green flag stop with his teammates because he didn't hear the call. Worked out for him. Grabbed some stage points for fresh Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel. Austin Cindric, your bottom right in the 2 car, waiting on fuel. Crew Chief Brian Wilson saying this is probably the last time we'll take tires. No changes. Austin did say it was a little snug. As the race off pit road goes to Kyle Busch.
Don't think he changed tires, Busch.
He would have been out way in front of the rest of them if he hadn't. So I'm not sure that graphic was quite correct.
Not sure. Well, that's a shame. Blaney, as you mentioned, one of the odds-on favorites coming in, and Chastain, who showed plenty of muscle in the first 2 stages of this race, both taken out just in a needless crash.
Right in front of Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin.
Yeah. Logano was on pit road. Now, Logano had come to pit road before it opened, too, to just make sure they didn't have any damage. It did look like he escaped without damage. Real quick. Blaney's still out there. Wow. That's amazing that he's still being able to go. Yeah. It's amazing that he's still able to go on the track like that. Real quick, Matt. Going to give you a hot lap here in just a moment, but before we do, want to tell you what's coming up here because, Matt, guess what starts on Tuesday?
Go on.
It's hockey. Oh, boy. So the NHL regular season technically started on Friday. The Devils and the Sabres played a game in Prague. Yes. The regular season well and truly starts Tuesday. So here's this week's lineup. Mentioned Cowboys Steelers. Tonight USRN at 8. Tomorrow night Saints and Chiefs in the Taylor Swift Bowl, of course. That's USRN at 8. Then hockey season starts on Tuesday. Here's the rest of the lineup. Tuesday night doubleheader. Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers play host to the Boston Bruins Tuesday night at 7. That's followed by the first game in the history of the Utah Hockey Club as they host Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks at 10 p.m. Eastern. Wednesday night, the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's followed by the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche. Thursday night football this week, 49ers at Seahawks. That's a big game in the NFC West. The season premiere of Friday Night Hockey on USRN2 is this week at 7. That's Tampa Bay, the Lightning, at the Carolina Hurricanes in Raleigh. That, of course, gets you to the weekend, and then eventually, next Sunday, the NASCAR playoffs in Charlotte at the Roval, the Bank of America 400. That's what we've got on USRN this week, Matt. Now, tell us what's happened this weekend in the world of racing.
Been a pretty quiet weekend, all things considered, but there has been plenty going on. We'll start in Japan. MotoGP had its Japanese Grand Prix over the weekend. The sprint race yesterday and today, the Grand Prix, both won by Pecco Bagnaia, cutting Jorge Martin's championship lead to 10 points, heading to Phillip Island in Australia in a couple of weeks' time. Manuel Gonzalez got his first Grand Prix victory in Moto2. and the 700th person that I've seen win in the last 3 years. David Alonso clinched the Moto3 championship by winning the race in Moto3, the first Colombian Moto4 junior class category champion there. So congratulations to David. He's going to be a very, very sought after star of the future. You may have already heard and seen on JBM this afternoon that the British Touring Car Championship has wound up at Brands Hatch because the Joshes were there, assisted by Megan. Jake Hill winning race 1. He was one of the championship contenders. Tom Ingram won race 2. He was one of the championship contenders. Ash Sutton won race 3. He was one of the championship contenders. But it was Jake Hill that came out on top to win his first championship in the British Touring Championship. So congratulations to Jake. At Toledo Speedway yesterday, there was an ARCA race, and it was one for you, Mr. Owens. It was the Owens Corning 200, won by William Salowich. Right here at Talladega on Friday, we had a truck race. Yes, on Friday, Grant Enfinger dominated to win the Loves RV 250. And yesterday in the Xfinity Series in the United Rentals 250, Sammy Smith got the victory for Junior Motorsports. And also, of course, we were there a few weeks ago to do the 6-hour race at Indianapolis. There was an 8-hour race this weekend, the last round of the Intercontinental GT Championship and GT World Challenge America as well, won by Team WRT. Charles Weerts is the champion in the Intercontinental GT Challenge. He shared with Dries Van Voor and Sheldon van der Linde this weekend, so they were the winners of the race, but Charles Weerts comes out on top as the champion in the GT World Challenge. Series overall, and they're back at Bathurst in February for the start of the next season. And a reminder, it's a busy weekend for Shane van Gisbergen next weekend because he's in the Xfinity race at the Roval and, of course, the Cup race, chance for a double sweep. And at some point, we'll try and watch the Bathurst 1000 as well.
Which he's won, of course, a couple of times.
I watched again earlier, or a new thing that I hadn't seen before because it's just come out on the Supercars YouTube channel. 10 years since the craziest race of all time, the 2014 Bathurst 1000, won on the last lap by Paul Morris and Chaz Mostert to Mark Scaife's call. Has not led a lap all day, Crompro. They led the last one, and that's all that mattered when Jamie Whincup ran out of fuel. If you have never seen that race, set yourself aside 8.5 hours. Oh my goodness, it's just incredible from start to finish. Crashes, accidents, controversy, track breaking up, red flag for an hour, and a last lap pass for the win.
Of course, we called Shane winning that race a couple of years ago.
We did.
It's an extremely fun race. It needs to be more revered in world racing as one of the crown jewel races that get run in the world of motorsports, because it's absolutely a terrific race.
Ryan Blaney update. He's stopped going around the track, logging as many laps as he could.
Yeah.
And came to rest on the back straightaway, and now he's on the hook on the grass on the inside of the back straightaway, going against traffic, if that makes sense. On his way, the car is anyway. I don't know if Ryan's still in it, probably not. But being towed through the Talladega infield. And back to the Penske garage.
That's my pick a winner pick done. Let's hear from Jimmy Johnson and Dale Jarrett before we get the green.
Certainly was. Quite different from the first stage where we saw 4 wide racing. They get 2 wide racing there at the end. You could see things really ramp up, Jimmy. Was there anything else that stood out to you in that second stage that we might look forward to here in stage 3?
Yeah, I think the 4 wide's really dependent upon guys that are saving fuel, and then you have others with a lot of fuel that can push and go forward, and it creates that 4 wide racing. It's just crazy that they can run 4 wide without an incident, and then here coming to the finish, we end up with the crash that we had. Down to you, Dave.
Hey, Jimmy, another playoff driver to keep an eye on that had damage there is Tyler Reddick. He said to his team it's a pretty solid hit to the nose. So when they came down pit road, they made some repairs to that and gave him 4 fresh tires and fuel. Remember, Tyler came in today below the cut line after starting Kansas last week above the cut line. The roller coaster is going in his direction right now. We'll see how fast the 45 can be in the pack when they go going again.
So, coming to get the green here to get the final stage underway, a couple of blue cars on the front row, Kyle Busch on the outside, Darrell Wallace Jr. to the inside. And we're going to get the green with 61 laps remaining in regulation. That crash right at the line to end stage 2, the first major accident of the day. As the green flag flies, will there be more to come? We know there's more drama to come as Kyle Busch and the Lucas Oil Chevrolet out of the Richard Childress Racing stables leads the field, building speed in turns 1 and 2.
Corner they come with those 2 blue cars out the front. Austin Cindric in the second row on the outside behind Kyle Busch. Darrell Wallace has got William Byron and then Shane Van Gisbergen for company on the inside. As they head towards turn number 3, Kyle Busch out in front at the moment, peeling through the corner, but the inside line will have momentum with Wallace off the bumper of William Byron as they come out of the corner. It's Wallace with a nose ahead.
Told you we would get an update for you after stage points were awarded. Live standings, Matt. Ryan Blaney, 6th, plus 23. So he lost basically half of the cushion that he had, and that's still with 60 laps to go in this race. But he is done for the day and will finish, well, last because no one else was out of the race.
Yeah, that's right. He will be. Yeah, good point. He'll be the last.
Beg your pardon. He'll
point
finish
scorer.
39th.
Okay. Behind, yeah, because Ross, because he did a few more laps than Chastain, didn't he? So he will be 39th. So, oh well, okay. He's still got a good, decent buffer. 23 points going to the Roval next weekend is okay, and of course he's a previous winner at that racetrack as well. Meanwhile, on the racetrack, coming out of turn number 4, it's still those 2 blue cars at the front of the field.
What he does not need is someone like a Logano, Reddick, or Bowman that's below him winning this race, or Cindric. So after running all those laps behind his teammate Cindric, yeah, exactly right. After running all those laps behind his teammate Cindric, he could do without either one of his teammates now winning this race, as the field has gotten 3 wide about in the middle of the pack. Leaders in the banking of turns 1 and 2.
Talking of his teammates, we're on board with Joey Logano as he comes out of turn number 2 up behind Todd Gilliland. The only remaining Penske car, but of course Austin Cindric is still up there right at the front of the field in the number 2. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens as this stage rolls through here. We're going to get another pit stop in it because we've got 59 laps to go. So certainly chance for more pit lane drama. Whether that comes under green or yellow, though, of course, is yet to be seen.
Leaders in the Tri-Oval, and Darrell Wallace Jr. for the U.S. Air Force colors with a nose in front. Chris Buescher's moved topside, and he now leads a third line here, trying to charge them up towards the front. Chase Briscoe and A.J. Allmendinger and Cody Ware are the cars that's right behind Buescher, who won Stage 1.
As the field finds their way through out of turn 2, and Allmendinger with a bad push to Briscoe, had to get out of the throttle. 13 car was a little bit loosey-goosey there down the middle of the back straightaway. All is fair, and they all continue pointing in the right direction, but that could have been a moment for AJ, who's survived dropping off the lead lap. He was the man that ended up getting the free pass, I believe. Yeah, he was. Yep. So it didn't work out for Daniel Suarez after he documented how his afternoon had gone.
Yeah, Suarez still a lap down. We're about to hear from Ross Chastain with Marty Snyder. If anything breaks out on the track, we'll break in.
The contact that happened at the end of Stage 2.
I'm not sure what happened with those guys down in the middle line. Coming into the tri-oval, I followed the 8, Team Chevy. and pushed him in the third lane, fanned out to push a Chevy. And yeah, somebody got chucked up. And seeing Ryan in there, I'm guessing it was the yellow blur I saw was the 12. But for our Busch Light Chevy to kick off hunting season with a camo can, I wish we were more invisible, like we'll be in the woods with that can than we were there coming to the end. But yeah, big hit. This Gen 7 car super safe though, kept me safe. They got the fire put out, and we'll go on next week.
The winner at Kansas last week is the first out at Talladega here today. William Byron up in the top 5 right now. And we mentioned a moment ago that Rudy Fugle and Byron have earned the most points today. Fugle reminded his driver that just moments ago. Listen in.
Just remember, if we finish 21st today, we get 30 points on the day from where we got. So if you ever feel uncomfortable, getting out of there, racing at the end is perfectly fine. Copy. Okay. Yep.
It's all about managing the race for William Byron from here. Ryan Blaney, glad to see him out of the care center as well. So Ryan, what was your take on the contact after the push from the 48?
I don't think it was much of a push, more of just him driving through me. At like the worst spot you can drive through somebody. So yeah, I mean, just got wrecked once again by somebody else and just ended our day, which stinks. And yeah, have to fight back next week.
In your take, has the racing been a little more chaotic than even normal? We saw 4 wide for almost 20 laps.
Yeah, we survived 4 wide because guys were pretty smart and gave each other a little bit of room and didn't just shove people. They kind of lifted and were smart. And that was the opposite of what happened to us.
There you go. Glad to see Ryan Blaney. Okay, Lee.
Never heard a pit reporter do an infield care center interview, then a pit report, then another infield care center interview. That's amazing. Anyway, they've gotten 3 wide again here at the front. And just as I say that, Matt, Chris Buescher gets pushed to the front.
Yeah, he does, and he drops to the inside in turns 3 and 4. I'd love to tell you who was behind him, but the pictures are so fuzzy, it's difficult to see. And the field is back on the front straight away.
Yeah, Chase Briscoe was the one that pushed Buescher to the front. How about Briscoe up here towards the front all of a sudden? He hasn't been up front really all day long, as the majority of the field stacked up 3 wide once again. How about all of it, in fact, because A.J. Allmendinger has climbed to the top of the banking. He's alongside Briscoe and Buescher in a battle for the lead.
He's got Cody Ware behind him giving him the push. So the Arby's machine is back towards the front end of the field, 3 by 3 by 3 throughout the whole entire field as they head down the back straightaway towards turn number 3. Through it they come with Buescher stood on the inside. And AJ still holding steady on the outside here, trying to sweep his way around and maybe pick up a lap lead.
He was a lap down when the second stage ended, got the free pass, and now A.J. Allmendinger is trying to take the lead of this race, and he has. He's going to swoop down in the tri-oval, and he comes to the line in front. So A.J. Allmendinger leads the way. They are 3 wide behind him from second on back. Buescher on the bottom of the racetrack, Chase Briscoe in the middle, and back towards the front of the outside. That crimson car in Crimson Tide Country, Matt, is Cody Ware.
Being pushed by another red car. That's Todd Gillen in the 38 in the Peanut Mobile. Here's Chase Briscoe up to the back of the car ahead of him. Joey Logano's in the outside line as well, trying to go through. That was AJ Allmendinger we're riding on board with, of course. But it's Ware and Allmendinger, the battle for the lead. Who'd expected that today?
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Austin Dillon got a bit shaken out of line at the exit of turn 4. Dillon smartly lets Stenhouse back in, chooses not to stack it up 4 wide. We've seen that they can do that today. Maybe not the time to do it. Austin Cindric now leads the 3rd lane, closest to the wall. It's Stenhouse, the one that pushes him. Where are they at? They're at the 3rd row of traffic. That's where Cindric leads the outside line.
Ware led that lap. And Allmendinger's dropped to the inside to pick up Chase Briscoe. Down the back straight comes the field. Cody Ware wandering around. And here comes Joey Logano. When it comes to crunch time, Logano goes to the front and he goes straight down the middle of those 2 guys and then picks up AJ Allmendinger to take the lead away. So Logano in the 22. He's not quite done yet because he's trying to get Cody Ware against his side draft as they come out of turn number 4.
Yeah, Cody Ware holding strong on the top of the racetrack. Very fast car. Todd Gilliland pushing Cody. It's Kyle Busch who pierces the middle. He tries to get up towards the front. Now he's blocked by Logano. And they're nose to nose, Logano and Ware in the banking of turns 1 and 2 for the lead. Logano again goes down to the bottom. Now he's got the lead all to himself.
Yeah, out in the wind is the 22. Watch out for the outside line here, getting a good run. As Gilliland gives Ware a big push, Logano jumps to the inside to pick up AJ Allmendinger, and that leaves Kyle Busch with some clean air on his nose in the middle lane. Through turn 3 they come. Back in the field, Frank Gisbergen on the inside. He's mired in traffic here after picking up some decent stage points, if he ever needed them, in stage 2.
Yeah, he's boxed in between the yellow line and Tyler Reddick to his outside. Reddick just in behind the Daytona winner under the lights a handful of weeks back, Harrison Burton, who has William Byron to his left elbow, Austin Dillon to his right. Middle lane's moving, though, because Burton puts away Dillon, now gets alongside Stenhouse, and now one car gets jumbled out of line, and it's Cody Ware again. No one wants to run with Cody Ware today, which is a shame, Matt, because clearly has a car that can get to the front and run up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Second time he's been bundled back in the field. Happened in stage 2 after he ran up towards the front end. It's all got a little bit separated with that move that we didn't quite see from the onboard. So Logano leading on the inside with AJ Allmendinger behind him. Todd Gilliland has jumped from the top to the middle and will be picked up by Kyle Busch. And Austin Cindric a little bit further back on the outside row in the 2.
Logano weaves from bottom to top, or at least to the middle, to pick up Gilliland, leaves Allmendinger to lead the inside line. Good move, though, by Logano, because it was Gilliland that had the momentum moving forward, so it's Gilliland pushing Logano into turn 1 as the leader. 3 wide from third on back, Kyle Busch in the middle, Austin Cindric up top, downstairs, that's AJ Allmendinger.
2 they come, Logano in the middle, as we said. In the lead, we see Chase Briscoe up to the back of AJ Allmendinger, gives him a shove. Chase Elliott trying to make something happen for him and get him a little bit back further towards the front end of the field, as we saw in stage 2. Field 3x3 through turns 3 and 4.
Back onto the main straightaway with blue skies overhead and a yellow car in front in Joey Logano. Oh, Kyle Busch got a bit of an awkward push in the tri-oval from Chase Elliott. It pushed Busch up. Oh, and now he tries to thread back down into that middle lane behind Elliott. He's done that. It certainly lost all the momentum that the middle line had. It's brought Cindric further up towards the top, and Logano takes it to the bottom, and AJ Allmendinger tries to shoehorn his way to the inside.
He said to Joey, no, thank you, don't block. That was a late block, and I did not appreciate it. And he gave him a little bit of a punt out of the way on the exit of turn 2. That could have been a dangerous moment. Heading to 3, it's 3x3x3 again. Cindric and Logano with AJ Allmendinger on the inside in that aqua green stride number 13. Todd Gilliland trying to get something working here behind Logano in the middle lane.
So Logano still with a nose in front. He's been able to do all of that and hold on to the lead. Now in the tri-oval, fades from middle to top to get ahead of his teammate Cindric. Austin Dillon is now the third car on that outside line that pushes those 2 Penske cars ahead of him. But Gilliland's got to run in the middle of the track, and Allmendinger's there on the bottom. Through the banking of turns 1 and 2, a very dramatic shot by NBC as Allmendinger, Gilliland, and Logano joust for the lead.
3x3 down the back straightaway. Here comes Cindric to pick up his teammate. Gives him a shove on the outside line. A little bit of a wiggle going on board with Stenhouse. He's the man that's going to give Todd Gilliland a push, although cars almost came together at the turning point to turn number 3, and they all slowed down slightly, which gives the inside line the run as Chase Briscoe pushes AJ Allmendinger back to the lead.
Allmendinger pumps it back to the front. He goes up from bottom to middle, gets in front of Gilliland. Logano looks like he's got the horses on the outside. Allmendinger stays in the middle of the racetrack, however, doesn't move up in front of Logano. Here they come back into turns 1 and 2. Now already, Matt, fuel savings starting here from Ricky Stenhouse Jr. We know a pit stop still has to be made before this stage ends. So, when do you pit? You got 46 laps to go from here. When do you start to make plans to get on pit road?
I'd say if it stays green, then maybe the next 15 laps perhaps, but we'll see what happens, because of course there was multiple strategies going on in that second stage when we had the Ford group come, then the Toyota group come, and then the bulk of the field over the next couple of laps after that. That's perfect, by the way, as Logano continues to lead.
Trying to keep it there, yes, as Logano has a nose in front of Allmendinger as they make their way across the line and back to turn one. Austin Cindric leads the outside line. Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman, and Daniel Hemrick are the three behind Cindric. Logano leads, trying to pick which lane to block. Right now, who's he in front of, Matt? I think he's trying to get both of them, bottom and middle.
Yeah, Gilliland in the middle and Allmendinger on the inside with his teammate, as we said. Austin Cindric leading the outside line. Logano middle tracking it down to turn 3 this time. And here comes that inside with a great run. And, of course, they'll have the less distance to go through the corner, which is keeping A.J. Allmendinger in touch here with those two Penske cars to his right elbow.
This is impressive from Allmendinger. Has been nowhere close to the front all day long. As we mentioned, he ended that second stage a lap down, got the free pass. Now he's jumped to the front. Just goes to show you what can be done in this draft and in this pack. Allmendinger getting it to the front. 44 laps to go at Talladega, the middle race in the round of 12 of the NASCAR playoffs, and still the pack motors along in formation. 3 by 3 behind Logano. They head down the super stretch in Matt White.
Joey Logano in the middle with his nose slightly ahead of his teammate Austin Cindric. It's Gilliland behind him, then Stenhouse. And then Chase Elliott, fourth car back in the middle with Kyle Busch in behind him after his scary moment a few laps ago. He's settled in there in the fifth car in line. Inside is Allmendinger and Briscoe. Cindric leading the outside from Austin Dillon.
Hard to believe that the racing could be more intense than it was in stage 1 when we were 4 by 4 across the track for about a 24 25 car pack, Matt. But we're running 3 wide here. We're doing it comfortably. We've got cars saving fuel, probably most of them other than Logano, but the laps are ticking down, and we know what that means at this place.
Yeah, once we get into the inside of 20 to go, it's anyone's game and anyone's guess from there on in. So once we get through this pit stop cycle, and then of course after that, if it all goes smoothly for everybody, we don't have a caution come out in the middle of it or accident on pit lane or whatever, the field will not be in the same order that it is now, and then we'll see who the real players are heading towards the end of this thing. But we've had a good, consistent run of people towards the front pretty much all day. Kyle Busch has been in the mix, the 2 Penske cars, and of course Blaney before his accident, and as was Chastain. William Byron's been hanging around the top 10 most of the day, as has Kyle Larson. Good to see Wallace up there in the late going. Chris Buescher as well won the first stage. He's now 5th as the cars come through turns 1 and 2. So if all of those guys can get this pit stop right, then any of them could be within a chance of the victory. Also, Austin Dillon has been up the top end of this field for most of the day, and here he is giving Austin Cindric a huge push down the back straightaway on the outside line. A.J. Allmendinger has got himself to the front off the bumper of Chase Briscoe, and Logano now has settled into the middle of the 3 wide in the middle lane.
You mentioned how we've had a consistent run of drivers at the front, Matt. We have had 44 lead changes among 14 different drivers in this race. And the leader at the moment is A.J. Allmendinger, leading for the first time today. So it's Allmendinger in front. Interestingly enough, and I just say this because NBC is focused in on him, we have not heard from Brad Keselowski since stage 1. And he was up front in stage 1 a lot, too.
Yeah, he was, and then he got caught off the pace with the 4 pit stops. He missed the pit lane, didn't he, coming in stage 2 and had to do an extra lap, which cost him a load of time. That kind of ruined any run they had at any sort of result in stage 2. So he avoided the accident by being back a little bit further back, so that worked out well for him. And perhaps Keselowski, if he can get the pit stop cycle all done nicely, he could be in with a shout here towards the end of this race.
Yeah, we're going to eliminate some drivers, you feel, on the pit stops, especially if they happen under green. Mistakes like Truex locking up the rear brakes and spinning, speeding penalties, which we haven't had any today, which is amazing. You just know we're setting up to get one from some contender here whenever these pit stops do happen. And then, of course, like we said in stage 2, Matt, getting on and off pit road as quickly and cleanly as you can, but then the merge, the blend, it really shook up the leaderboard in stage 2, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. Where you end up blending out with friends or foe, perhaps in terms of manufacturers or teammates, really can seal your deal for the day in a good way or a bad way, especially with this upcoming green flag pit stop cycle for the last pit stop of the day. So we heard from, I think it was Michael McDowell's team, they're not expecting to tell someone, but they're not expecting to take tyres. I think Austin Cindric actually, again today. So we saw that tyre wear perhaps as a factor. Maybe that could come into play towards the end of this thing if no one takes any tyres in this looming green flag pit stop.
By the way, just want to mention, Ryan Blaney in the live standings now is only plus 12. So all the moving and shaking in how they run on the track has hurt Blaney after his crash. In the live standings, let's get this in once before pit stops. Blaney plus 12, Hamlin plus 1, Reddick minus 1, Cindric minus 2, Briscoe minus 5. So it's very, very tight. Charlotte and the Roval next week, but still 38 laps and a pit stop to make at Talladega. And we say 38 laps very well knowing that we might go beyond lap 188 to decide the winner of this race. At the front, A.J. Allmendinger on the bottom of the racetrack, Joey Logano to his outside.
Stage points next week at the Roval will be absolutely key for some of those guys next Sunday if it's going to be that close to the cutoff line.
You are clear. The 38 is not 38. 2 ahead of his helper. You're cleared only the top, middle, and top's the same. 38 is clear.
Common Presley is to Joey Logano's spotter.
38 is cleared to the top. 38 is cleared. 38 is cleared. 38 is cleared.
And the interesting thing is the guy right beside Joey Logano, A.J. Allmendinger, Coleman Presley spots for the Dinger in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, that's right. Here's Austin Cindric. You kept hearing Coleman say 38 is clear to the top. Well, he's not any longer because Austin Cindric motored around his outside, and now Cindric wants the lead.
Brings the outside lane back into it. There's some 4 wide stuff going on again, a little bit further back from the front end. And A.J. Allmendinger stuttered there for some reason off turn 2. And the inside line has just disappeared backwards, so it leaves the 2 Penske cars out front. Logano on the inside of Cindric, and now the inside lane starts to come back again with A.J. Allmendinger. Not quite sure what happened there in the middle of the back straightaway.
Yeah, something certainly happened, and boy, Kyle Busch, something happened to him. He's in the middle of the 4 wide mess that's going on. Kyle Larson behind him. In fact, you got Chase Elliott there too in the thick of the 4 wide. Keselowski's there. So everyone huddles back up into turn 1 in a big pack with 36 laps to go. They're 2 by 2 at first. They're 3 wide behind them for 2 rows. Then they're 4 wide. My goodness.
Yeah, a couple of rows of 4 wide. Then it goes back to 3 again behind that. It's 200 miles an hour traffic jam moving around this Talladega Super Speedway. Down towards turn 3 they come again. On board with Brad Keselowski. He's in the middle of a absolute quagmire going on here. You've got Noah Gragson ahead of him and Daniel Hemrick and Kyle Busch. Kyle Larson to his left elbow. Absolutely no room for any mistakes from anyone in this mid-pack.
Keselowski gives a shot to the bumper cover of Noah Gragson, and boy, does that give him a shot. Gragson splits the gap between cars 47 and 48, Stenhouse and Bowman. And then another touch to the back bumper of Gragson by Keselowski. Gragson tried to come down in front of Stenhouse, who kept his foot in the throttle. Gragson still can't get into a comfortable place.
He can't go uppy because he's got Alex Bowman right next to him. Keselowski will give him another shot down the back straightaway, but not as big a shot as Hemrick gives to Bowman. They'll go steaming by on the outside and bringing with them the 51 of Corey LaJoie. Meanwhile, at the front, you're not missing anything. It's still Logano and Cindric side by side for the lead. If that sounds irrational, because we've been talking about it all day, they are side by side for the lead, but it's 4 wide behind them.
And A.J. Allmendinger has caught back up on that bottom line. He wants to fight for this lead. In fact, Cindric has backed away. He doesn't have drafting help with now Austin Dillon on the extreme outside of the 4 lines. Gragson in the 3rd line. Is that what we want to call that? But it's Logano and Allmendinger who now scrap for the top spot.
Ryan Preece in the middle of this mess as well in the Wonder Bread machine. Down the middle of the back straight they come. Gregson trying to squeeze through at the end of the back straight. and everybody minds their P's and Q's. That could have been nasty if Austin Cindric had turned in or not seen him coming. Good stuff there. Side by side for the lead between Logano and Allmendinger.
And Gregson's car does not look comfortable with Keselowski pushing him, and he nearly got turned out of shape. We know Brad Keselowski is one of the most aggressive pushers. You got Gregson, you got cars to his right, to his left. He's getting pushed from behind. That's a very uncomfortable place for Noah Gragson to be, and Keselowski, once again, shoots him up into turn one. Gregson, at least for now, gets out of the four wide. The four wide's just about over because of all of that. We saw Gregson a couple laps ago, Matt. I did not think the back of that car looked comfortable, and it certainly wasn't a moment ago.
No, that was wild stuff coming out of four. I don't think Brad Keselowski wants to be behind Noah Gragson for too much longer. Problem is he can't get past him and go anywhere else. He's stuck in the queue, although it's shuffled around a little bit now. Allmendinger to the lead as they come out of turn number 4 side by side between Logano and Briscoe.
The intensity of the late laps of a playoff race at Talladega, there's just nothing like it. Logano inches back up alongside Allmendinger. Briscoe, Gilliland, and Cindric are 3 wide behind the top 2. Cindric gets a push from Austin Dillon. The Austins have linked up top side. Then comes Gregson. Then comes Keselowski. It's still Allmendinger in front. You know, Matt, this is a conversation that they have a lot during the week on SXM, on the NASCAR channel. We come to Talladega twice a year. We come to Martinsville and Las Vegas twice a year, and Atlanta. You can just feel the difference between a regular season race at a place and a playoff race at the same place.
Absolutely right. My squirm was because Chase Briscoe almost got turned off the front bumper of Chris Buescher in the middle of the back straight on the inside, but they stayed straight and true. Absolutely right. And now, as I said before, we're getting towards the business time. We've still got this pit stop to come. 31 laps to go as they hit the stripe. Now we're seeing some people trying to position themselves with manufacturers, with teammates, so we can get to the pit lane together like we saw before. But at the same time, they're still trying to race and keep their track position. Yeah. So there's all manner of things going on as AJ Allmendinger tried to get it up from bottom to middle ahead of Joey Logano. It didn't happen for him. Todd Gilliland gives Joey a huge push down the back straight away to put the 22 back in the lead. Meanwhile, on the outside, though, the Austins, we saw them almost crash into each other in the pit lane not so long ago, and here they are trying to work something out on the high side, the 3 and the 2, Cindric at the front of Dillon.
Also, to get onto pit road at this speed in this pack, you've got to be on the bottom of the track. So you can't be in the middle or at the top to get to pit road. So you're going to have to work that out. And we're counting down the laps to the finish, of course. We also know that a pit stop still has to be made. 30 laps to go in the race. Who knows when these drivers are planning on pitting, but what we do know, Matt, is at least to this point, we're not seeing any off strategies from any group of cars like we saw earlier with some Fords.
No, I think it's going to be much closer together here in terms of groupings coming to the pit lane, unlike we saw in stage 2, because of course you only need now enough fuel to get you to the end and maybe a little bit extra in reserve for any overtime, which is always looming at this place.
Just to the point that I was making a moment ago, I know playoffs are such a controversial topic and they're not supported by everyone, and everyone has a right to that opinion, but boy, you get down to the end of these races, especially a Talladega race in the playoffs, I mean, you're on the edge of your seat if you're sitting. I'm only sitting, Matt, because I'm glued to this chair. I cannot get up with this microphone on, or I would be pacing back and forth in this booth.
Leaders down the back straight away. Logano still in the middle. Allmendinger on the inside. Cindric on the outside. Still not anything going on here in terms of positional changes or someone trying to make the fourth lane work. It's all just sit tight and carry on now that after that little bit of wackiness with Noah Gragson a few laps ago. Everyone's settled themselves in here. It'll be 28 to go as they hit the line.
Shane Van Gisbergen is backed out of this pack. He's 32nd as they run. Speaking of playoffs and Shane Van Gisbergen, it's coming to Australia in the supercars next year. Was talked about during the week. Again, it's not going to be supported by everyone, but hopefully it will bring intensity to those races, Matt. Could you imagine supercar playoff race with cars on top of each other?
Well, we get They get cars on top of each other often at the Gold Coast anyway, and that's going to be the playoff opener as such next year. So that's going to be wild off the back of Bathurst. More of that perhaps to be talked about on Grid Tonight on the Grid Network this Wednesday. Don't like segues, fell off one once. But that'll be a topic of discussion perhaps on Grid Tonight on Wednesday. New calendar, Bathurst week, and perhaps playoffs and a playoff chatter coming from Australia. Another thing that Shane Van Gisbergen will keep his eye on next weekend as well, of course, with Bathurst and the Roval, as I mentioned before.
Should be fun to keep up as Bathurst approaches. Petit Le Mans next week, of course, but focus right now is Talladega with 27 laps to go, and still we're just tiptoeing here, trying to get to this pit stop. Tiptoeing at 3 wide, of course.
And then after a strange break in the season, the intensity of the Formula One Championship picks back up again the week after at Austin for COTA for the US Grand Prix. So after our little break, and then it's, 6 races in 7 weeks or something crazy to finish the Formula One season. Here are the leaders back on the straightaway. You'll hear all of this stuff on JBM throughout the next few weeks, of course, with the Formula One World Championship coming to a crunch. Talking coming to a crunch, we're coming to a crunch at Talladega.
Cindric and Dillon are moving together on the outside. In turn 1, Cindric has a nose in front of Logano in the middle. A.J. Allmendinger is not to be forgotten on the inside either.
I don't mean a physical crunch, obviously, but coming to a crunch at the end of the race. Let's hope that we can get to the end of this race without accident. You imagine it's going to happen, but let's hope we can get to the end without it. It's been a pretty clean race, apart from that Blaney incident at the end of stage 2. We've had some scary stuff go on, but thankfully not the wildness that we've seen in years past. On board with Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he's about third car back in the middle lane, behind Todd Gilliland.
Yeah, Stenhouse has been pretty aggressive at the end of both stages today. We know he has a car and a mindset that can get him to the front when it matters the most. Of course, he's just looking for wins, as so many of the drivers in this pack are. Logano in the middle with a nose in front. Cindric flanks him to the outside. To his driver's left is A.J. Allmendinger. It's been that way for a handful of laps now.
25 to go. Off of turn 2 they come. Cindric on the outside with Logano still with his nose slightly ahead down the middle of the back straightaway. Great run again from Todd Gilliland. We talked about this earlier in the early portion of the year, how great his season has been. Could he end up being the man that takes home the trophy this afternoon? That'll be a great story if it happens. Through 3 and 4, and again, that this end of the racetrack, that inside line really has got some momentum going for it, and A.J. Allmendinger is back to the front.
Now Logano tries to charge back on the top side. He's got Gilliland much closer to him than Allmendinger has help from Chase Briscoe. That allows Logano to get back in front at the line, but now Cindric at the outside has his nose ahead of Logano. I tell you, I'm not a fan of all the onboard shots, but the onboard shot they have with Allmendinger is really quite epic.
Yeah, we've been blessed, let's say, with lots of onboards this afternoon. Especially when all that 4 wide action was going on. It was hard to keep track of what was going on at the front because we were having so much onboard stuff. Matt Keselowski still up behind Noah Gragson. Up on the high side, they are cars 3 and 4 in the outside line. Here they come again towards the tower.
And still no one from the bottom breaking down onto pit road. Coming to 23 laps to go. Once again, Gilliland gives a sporty push to the back door of the Joey Logano automobile. His Ford Mustang in front. Back to turn 1. Cindric ranging to his outside. 2 by 2 at the front. 3 by 3 beyond them.
Try and get some word on when we're going to get some pit stops. And I think it might actually be coming this lap. So be ready here as the field comes down the back straightaway. Of course, as you talked about, it's going to be guys on the inside lane that will break to the pit lane first because they've got the advantage of being on the inside line. Here come the leaders and the field through 3 and 4. It is Allmendinger on the inside of Logano and Cindric, as it has been for pretty much the bulk of this third stage.
No one pitting this time either by the looks of it, and we haven't seen anyone bail from the middle to the bottom, have we? That would be your kind of your giveaway that you need to come down pit road, as if someone bails from the middle to get to the bottom, but no one's done that because the middle's not going anywhere. Logano still has plenty of energy pushing him up that middle, as A.J. Allmendinger in the corner in turns 1 and 2 has his nose back in the lead.
And now the middle gets the advantage, as you mentioned. Plenty of muscle going
there
on
we
there
go.
with Logano, and Allmendinger with his hand out the window on the back straightaway. So here we go then. It is going to be pit stop time, which will leave them with 21 laps to go. So let's see if we can get everybody in here that wants to take it this lap in cleanly.
Hopefully we can. We've only seen one real incident getting to pit road today. Truex, a single car spin. Allmendinger peels off. Not many coming with him. Daniel Hemrick is. Shane Van Gisbergen is. Couldn't quite tell who the other one was. It may have been Anthony Alfredo.
And AJ Allmendinger actually got some damage earlier on in a green flag cycle, so they wanted to make sure it was clean here. 21 to go at Talladega.
And with this
so Allmendinger pitting just about by himself, other than SVG and a couple others as the
Two tires
leaders.
for both of those guys.
Yep, leaders motor down the back straightaway, and we have a new leader coming at you.
Austin Dillon it is. The two Penske cars have got together now on the inside, so expect them to come to the pits together now. They've got themselves lined up. Austin Dillon has got to the middle, and he is the race leader. As they come out of turn number 4, who's going to take the dive this time to the pit lane? Nobody for the moment, which is going to leave Austin Cindric as your race leader at the line.
Yeah, Dillon got stranded up top with not a lot of help, so Cindric gets back by him, and we click down to 20 laps to go here in Talladega in the Yellowwood, Alabama 500. And here comes Austin Dillon. Big, powerful run on the outside, pushed by a big, powerful 38 car of Todd Gilliland.
Noah Gragson is the leader of the outside line, and we talked about him before, and he's just not making any progress, even though he's got Brad Keselowski as his pusher. That outside line has stalled out for the moment. Down the back straight comes the leaders. And into turn 3 they come with Austin Dillon in front now. He swoops down across the front nose of Austin Cindric and now goes back to the middle to pick up Todd Gilliland.
No one peeling off yet. Now a couple cars do. To pit road comes Chris Buescher, Darrell Wallace Jr., and Eric Jones. And Jones is moving very quickly to the line, locked up the right side tire. I think both the right sides were locked up. He keeps it straight and gets it to pit road safely.
There's even leaving pit road, Dave.
Chris Buescher's been exciting all day long, running up at front in the 17 car. Scott Graves told him we've got nothing to lose, not in the playoffs, and we're going to prove it. He'll get just fuel here.
Is that what he told his driver? We're not in the playoffs. Todd Gilliland leads to turn 3.
We both thought the same thing. Very good. As those guys leave, here comes the next wave as they come through turn 3 and 4. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. the back of Todd Gilliland for the lead. Austin Dillon has got to the inside. Any takers this time to the pit lane?
No.
No dice.
Nope. So Todd Gilliland in front. And he's lost his teammate Michael McDowell for a lot of this, well, basically the entirety of this stage.
Hey.
When McDowell got shuffled out, he hasn't been able to get to the front. He's in this lead group, McDowell, but he's in the middle, right behind Alex Bowman here. That's multiple rows back, though. Nowhere close to Gilliland.
Yeah, about six car in line, I think, on my count there for McDowell. There's some moving and shaking going on, including McDowell. He goes to the high line, see if he can make something happen up there. As Gillen leads the field into turn 3 with Stenhouse and Dillon painted to his bumper. No, Gregson was almost in the wall there on the high side in the middle of turn number 3. Cindric goes to the middle. And here we've got plenty more pit stops this time, including Stenhouse and Dillon.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Austin Dillon, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, William Byron, Ty Gibbs.
Fugel, the crew chief for William Byron, earlier this week, he said, "This is what we execute so well." Green flag stop. Byron on pit road with 17 to go, Kim.
And his teammate Chase Elliott got the cue this time after missing at the last green flag stop. Fuel only for Chase Elliott. His teammate Larson looking for that first Super Speedway win. Fuel only for both of those teammates down on pit road.
We heard Rudy Fugel earlier tell William Byron if he finishes 21st, they score 30 points for the day. So they've already been talking in the 24 camp about where he can finish for it still to be an advantageous points day. We'll see how aggressive Byron gets out of these final pit stops. Here comes just about everyone else to pit road. Gilliland is coming in. Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski smokes up a right side tire. Harrison Burton, Noah Gragson, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell.
Got beat by many of the cars. Joey Logano there getting fuel only from the front of the field. Dave?
Chase Briscoe in another Ford brings the 14 in. He'll be fuel only as well. A tear-off so we can see better to try to manage things here, Kim.
Yep, we had Austin Cindric. They said go, 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 go. Got the seconds of fuel they needed. Also in pit road, Brad Keselowski, a whole brigade of Fords this stop.
And importantly, Cindric does beat everyone out that came to pit road this time. He'll have Keselowski between himself and his teammate Joey Logano. Harrison Burton's also in there. That's a corporate car to Penske. Now, behind them coming to turn one, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, William Byron. They pitted a lap ago, Matt. They're up to speed.
They are, and Stenhouse leads that queue. On board with him as he tries to pick up some of the guys that just jumped on in front of him. Oh, too fast entering. Todd Gilliland speeding penalty. What a shame for the 38. He was having a great day. He'll have to do a pass through. That's the end of his afternoon in terms of a result. Stenhouse picks his way through these guys that have just come out in front of him, including that man, Todd Gilliland.
That is so sad for Todd Gilliland as Ricky Stenhouse Jr. motors to the outside of Chase Briscoe in the tri-oval. Chase Elliott tried to follow Stenhouse. He got slow cars coming off of pit road. That's below the double yellow line, thankfully. Kyle Busch climbed the banking. No one went with him. He comes down nearly into the side of Kyle Larson and Ryan Preece.
That was a scary moment. I thought Kyle was wandering all over the place up on the high side, and has he got a problem perhaps? Maybe he has. And the field almost swallowed Joey Logano. Was that McDowell, sorry, just out of the pit lane in the middle of the field. But interesting stuff from Kyle Busch because he may be in position to lose the draft. No, he should be okay actually and get back on the tail end of the field. We'll get a cycle of scoring as they head to the line with 14 laps to go at Talladega.
And everyone has now pitted. Austin Cindric leads, but Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is climbing forward to the outside of Brad Keselowski. Chase Elliott went with him in the draft. Cindric leads to one. Stenhouse leads that outside line. Keselowski and Elliott are the second cars in each line to push.
All the Fords on the inside, as you mentioned, Cindric, Keselowski, Logano, and Burton. And it's Stenhouse, Elliott, Byron on the outside line heading down the middle of the back straightaway. Kyle Larson's not too far behind as well in the 5. Into 3. Cindric pulls out ahead, brings Keselowski with him. And Stenhouse slips back to 2 wide with the third place car, Joey Logano.
And here comes Todd Gilliland out of the pack into pit road. And boy, is that heartbreaking to see him have to leave to exit out of the pack. Chance of winning just about gone now, unless he gets a caution, of course, to get back in it. But a speeding penalty served for Todd Gilliland. And again, Matt, through green flag pit stops, through the blend, getting everyone on and off, this lead pack has lost some cars, and now it's just 2 by 2.
Yeah, this is the selection now going forward to the end of the race, to use a cycling term. This is your peloton now heading towards the end of the race, and Austin Cindric is in the lead of it, with Brad Keselowski giving a push to the car that he used to drive, the number 2 car. He's got his old teammate Joey Logano right up behind him.
Brad Keselowski, second, again, in the late laps at Talladega, just as he was here in the spring when he tried to get around Michael McDowell coming to the line. But now he's got Ricky Stenhouse Jr. coming hard on the outside. Stenhouse pulls up alongside Cindric. He's got Chase Elliott pushing. In fact, Matt, that's 3 Hendrick cars lined up right behind Stenhouse, Elliott, Byron, Larson.
Yeah, Larson's no jump. There was someone else I couldn't quite identify it from the high shot before in front of Larson. Whoever it was has been shuffled out of the Hendrick queue. So Stenhouse, the only non-Hendrick car at the front there on the outside line. It's all Fords on the inside. They'll help each other until they come off of turn 4 for the final time. It'll be 11 laps to go as we hit the line this time.
If you're listening to us on USRN or watching and listening on JBM, I hope your hearts are beating as hard as ours are, because as the leaders come to the line, there are now just 11 laps to go at Talladega. The intensity is just about at full pegged. It's been pegged out. We've had great racing all day long. We've avoided major incidents, save for one crash at the end of the second stage, Matt, but it's all about to head up right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to find your ideal partner here that's going to help you or you help them get towards the front of the field, as we've got a couple more cars tagging onto the back of this queue, including AJ Allmendinger, who was, of course, at the front for most of this stage, and now he finds himself outside the top 20 at the back end of it. But it's still Cindric and Stenhouse at the front, 10 to go.
And Cindric with a nose in front of Stenhouse with a push from Keselowski. Brad Keselowski, of course, eliminated from the playoffs. He's only here to win. Same for Stenhouse. But there's a lot of playoff drivers here at the front here, Matt, that's got to be thinking risk versus reward. Joey Logano came into the day below the cut line. In the live standings, he's +8. What does he play in these last 10 laps?
I think they'll stick in line until as long as they can here, and then once we get to about 3 or 4 to go, it'll start moving around and trying to find your right path to victory. Cindric, though, has the lead at the moment. He's got Keselowski and Logano and then Burton all lined up behind him in the Ford train on the inside. But here comes the outside line.
Yeah, Stenhouse gets another terrific shove from Chase Elliott, and we know how Stenhouse is going to run these last 9 laps. He's going to be as aggressive as anyone. He always is. He wants to win. That team has not won. He and that team has not won since the Daytona 500 of February 2023.
Out of turn 2, Stenhouse slightly ahead, and he'll get a push from Chase Elliott at some stage down the back straightaway. Keselowski into the back of Cindric will take those guys back past the 47 Palmolive machine as they head to turn number 3. Logano looking to see if he can maybe poke underneath Keselowski. That would have been risky in the middle of the corner. And they stay all in line for the moment.
All Fords on that inside line, except for the one Toyota of John Hunter Nemechek. That outside lane is just about all Chevrolets. You do have Ryan Preece and Tyler Reddick in that outside line. They cross the line with 8 laps to go. I am hopping in my seat, Matt White. I am hopping in my seat, trying to keep from doing it, to try to keep the microphone from picking up any extra noises, but I cannot help it.
I said there was 4 Fords. It's actually 5 because Chase Briscoe's behind Harrison Burton. So it is 5 Fords, as you say, lined up on the inside lane with a mixture of Chevrolets and Toyotas on the outside. Stenhouse to the right elbow of Austin Cindric as they head towards turn number 3. Into the corner they go. Logano right up to the back of Keselowski, second car in the queue. Cindric way out in the wind at the moment as they come out of the corner, though.
Pierre Moss joining us in the comments section. He says it's high drama time at Talladega. It most certainly is. Here comes Stenhouse again, absorbing a push from Chase Elliott to rifle up the middle alongside Cindric and put his nose in front. 7 laps to go, Matt. And we've talked about strategy all day long. Now the strategy from these drivers are, if I'm not one of the first 3 or 4 cars in my line, I've got to do something if I've got a chance to win.
Yeah, and something's happening at the back end. Austin Dillon trying again to make the third line go. He's got Daniel Hemrick behind him. AJ Allmendinger trying to tack onto that queue, but they're a long, long way back with 7 to go. It's going to take a mighty effort from those guys to get towards the front. And in fact, it's already splintered out. So that's failed attempt number 1 for anyone in that area of the racetrack to go forward.
And it's going to be so desperately hard for anyone to make a third line go forward now because no one's saving fuel. That's what made it so quote-unquote easy to make third and fourth lines earlier when you had some cars in the middle of the pack running half throttle. No one's doing that now. They're back in turn 1 with 6 laps to go. Still nothing to tell Stenhouse and Cindric apart.
Absolutely. Second row is Keselowski and Elliott. Third row is Byron on the outside and Logano on the inside. Bunch of playoff drivers, as you mentioned, right up towards the front end of this field. We've got 3, 4, 5, 6 of them in the top 10 at the moment as they head through turns 3 and 4. 5 laps to go when they get there, and there's a lapped car on the horizon as well.
And let me tell you, Matt, and everyone else listening, how fragile of a situation this is for Austin Cindric. He is the leader coming to the line. When he's the leader, he is being shown as the leader in the live playoff standings. If he is second, Matt, he is -6 to the cut line. That's how fragile and volatile it is for Austin Cindric. He needs to win this race.
Todd Gilliland was the car that they've just caught after his drive-through, so he'll stay down low and get passed by everybody. He'll try and tack on at the end of the queue here and get to the end. Oh, caution! And they've got a spin in the middle of the pack, and everybody's involved. A huge incident heading towards turn number 3. Goodness only knows how that started, but it's finished with an absolute pile.
Austin Cindric, the leader, got turned out of line, and it collected everybody. Who is that sitting down there, Matt? McDowell, Elliott, Wallace, Busher, Burton. Tyler Reddick. Reddick right here with heavy damage. Shane Van Gisbergen, Joey Logano. Oh, my.
We didn't quite see the beginning of it on the live shot, so we're going to have to wait for the replay. Corey LaJoy's got damage and is picking his way back. Darrell Wallace Jr. in reverse.
Oh, Tyler
Reddick, as you
Reddick.
mentioned, with right front damage. That's day done for him. Alex Bowman's in the pit lane with a flat tyre. There is this is going to take some time because there is maybe 12 cars down there not moving in turn 3.
Junkyard. Tyler Reddick started the day below the cut line. The front nose of that car all caved in. And of course, Matt, in a playoff world where points mean so much, who does this help the most? Ryan Blaney.
Very much does. And back to the conversation of the Daniel Suarez thing from earlier on, there's a lot of cars down there with flat tyres.
Yeah.
I don't think we've got enough wreckers to get them back to the pit lane. There's that many cars parked up. Logano, Chase Elliott, Austin Cindric, Josh Berry facing the wrong way.
Oh, just
complexion of this race has changed yet again.
Ticking time bomb in the late laps at Talladega.
It has been, hasn't it? All afternoon. It's been as Pierre's comment about it, it's getting towards game time at Talladega. We've been on the chip all afternoon, Pierre. It's been absolutely mad, this race, without the madness of crashes.
Yeah.
But we get the big one, and it's taken out a heck of a lot of good cars.
Chase Briscoe,
a
playoff driver. I don't know if we mentioned him, but he's down there. All right, Matt, they had, as you just called, they had just lapped Todd Gilliland. That had nothing to do with this.
No, it didn't.
Oh.
Brad Keselowski got to Austin Cindric got put out. For whatever reason, Austin Cindric was ahead of the rest of the queue. Still didn't really get a good shot from that high angle there. And then Brad Keselowski gets to the back of Cindric and doesn't hit him square, and it turns Austin squarely right into the side of Ricky Stenhouse, who survived. And then it was a spinning top for the discount tyre number 2. And that's a big impact for Joey Logano. Did he make the wall? No, he got hit from behind by Noah Gragson, who was spinning towards him. What did I just say? 6 playoff drivers in the top 10 a lap ago, and most of them, if not all of them, were involved in this incident.
Golly, heavy impacts
everywhere. I think Kyle Larson survived. Yes, he did.
Huh. Finally missed one at one of these places, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Well, now, and
as did Byron.
Just to mention, too, and I don't want to get into the weeds of this, because if anyone should not be getting into the weeds of aerodynamical, mechanical things, it's me. But there was something put on these cars during the week, Matt, to try to keep these cars from getting airborne. Austin Cindric's car got backwards, the rear wheels did lift up, and it immediately sat back down.
Yeah, good. I was waiting to see through the replays if we did get anyone in the sky, but they have all stayed on the deck, thankfully, after a couple of airborne incidents this year for a number of people, including, of course, Corey LaJoy at Michigan in the summer, although it's not a super speedway track, but you know what I mean. Well. I would imagine they're going to throw a red here.
Yeah, they have.
And give us as many laps as they are good. Give us as many laps as possible, because this going straight to a green-white checker wouldn't have been particularly... wouldn't have gone over well with a lot of people, but this is going to absolutely... What do we say about this being the joker of this round, and it is turned next week, or this, let alone what's about to happen, this has turned next week into a lot of mess for a lot of people in terms of the points.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it is interesting because, we always call this race the wild card of the playoffs, did feel like we needed to rename this because there's so many wild cards of these playoffs. We talked about the wild card nature of Watkins Glen and Atlanta, even Bristol after what happened there in the spring, although it didn't turn out that way, and Kansas. And if they're all wild cards, then you need another name for Talladega, and I think we did settle on Joker, as you heard in the open. Oh, wow. Here's a good shot of it, Matt. Yeah, those rear tires just quickly lifted up and then back down on the 2 car. So they've done a very good job there at keeping these cars on the ground. Because as you said, you had Corey LaJoie at Michigan go upside down. You had Michael McDowell get airborne in the corner at Talladega or at Daytona. You had Josh Berry upside down at Daytona.
Ryan Preece at Daytona last year.
Yeah.
Did he make it through in the Wonder Bread car? Because he was up towards the front end of the field. He was behind Kyle Larson.
Yeah, let's track
so
him.
there. As we telestrate on radio, he didn't. He got involved. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, do love the radio telestration. It's terrific.
As long as they radioed to Ryan Preece and told him he wasn't on fire, then everything is good in the world.
Still all kinds of
What do we got?
cars
6 or 7
parked.
cars still down there being recovered.
I mean, between the race cars and the safety vehicles, there's about 20 of them down there at your feet, just about.
Looks like highway maintenance going on down there in Turn 3.
So it goes back.
We missed Brad radio. He was the one that, of course, turned Cindric. And we talked earlier, the bumpers. Yeah, we talked earlier, the bumpers don't align on these cars. And
no.
The later you get in these races, the heavier the pushes are going to be, and the harder they are to control. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is going to be scored as the leader of this race. Wow. Well,
Don't think we've mentioned the name Denny Hamlin. I don't know if he got through this or not. Not seen the 11 car on screen in any shape or form in terms of replays or in shots of the incident field.
There was a white car
in
the grass. I could not tell. It's not Cindric because they've already moved him. Could have been Harrison Burton. Yeah, you're right. Have not seen the 11 one way or the other. Well, and you mentioned this too, Matt, just a little bit earlier about the points. Even if this didn't happen, the points were going to be tight heading into Charlotte next week, making stage points so important. But of course, now that we have brought stage cautions back to road courses, getting stage points at a road course without compromising your race is very difficult.
Yeah.
And the decision-making by crew chiefs and drivers during the week leading up to Sunday and then executing it is going to be just unbelievably good and entertaining during the week. And you're with us next week. I think I asked you this last. Have you ever done a Roval race with us? I'm not sure.
I think one. I think one was the Chase Elliott sign race from memory. You have to check the spreadsheet.
Yes, yes, exactly.
To see.
Exactly right.
But yeah, we're very much looking forward to next week, and then we roll into the round of 8, which is going to be just typically chaos as always.
Yeah, nothing going on in those races, and the round of 8, which begins in Las Vegas, carries on to Homestead Miami Speedway, and then Martinsville.
Good job we weren't in Homestead this weekend because it's been nothing but wet in Florida.
No.
All weekend.
No, really.
I know, yeah. In October, who'd have thought?
Yeah.
As a two-time Floridian vacationist in October, I can tell you, it comes when the heavens open, it comes down fairly hard.
Sure does. Well.
Not many places in the Disney parks to find shelter when it rains that hard. Let me tell you.
Getting some B-roll on our monitors of cars crashed at Talladega in the past. Well, we've just added some. Added a lot. How many were involved in that? I mean, at one point when once they all got done starting their spin and they all came back towards the middle of the track in turn 3 or at the approach to turn 3, that looked like, just visibly, it looked like 20 cars.
Hopefully NBC will do their normal involved in incident graphic shortly, and we'll give you a number as I again scour this replay to see if we can pick out anyone else that we haven't yet mentioned. Chris Buescher, I don't think we mentioned. He was involved in this, as was Corey LaJoie, which we did talk about. Michael McDowell. Daniel Suarez, of course, was lap down anyway, but he was involved, as was Darrell Wallace, AJ Allmendinger.
I haven't even seen Denny
Tyler,
Hamlin
you
come
mentioned
through
Daniel
the shot.
Hemrick. Daniel Hemrick almost got through, but then ended up clouting Austin Cindric in the rear.
Let's hear from Dale Jarrett and Jimmy Johnson.
I think the one thing that I thought when I first saw it, Jimmy, was why did Keselowski hit him in the rear? But the more replays that I saw as he was getting pushed, it was actually turning his car, Brad's, a little bit left, and that's what created that angle. So it's no way to put blame. It's just racing that happens here, right?
Yeah, especially when you look at those cars and the association with the manufacturer, they're all trying to help each other.
Yeah.
It just didn't turn out well for them. But it just shows how draggy the lead car is. The 2 car got off to a nice lead. He kind of hit that terminal velocity wall. Car starts pulling back, and the energy of the pack is closing so hard. Brad saw it coming, and in my eyes, Brad tried to check up a bit, but the train was rolling, and they drove right on through the 2 car.
And you can see this is all happening is that Todd Gilliland, who had to serve a penalty for speeding coming into pit road earlier, he got out of the way, but Cindric had got that. And as you pointed out, the manufacturers want their guys to run together. Well, the bad thing is if there's something happens, then they're going out together too.
Yeah, it totally is that way. And then what I think a lot of these guys will fall back on, and I know Ryan Blaney's name was back in the conversation because of all the stage points he had. You start now looking back on the day and wondering how many points are going to carry you through. With all these cars tore up, the result, the finish itself, isn't what it once was, unless you're in Victory Lane, of course. Now you have these stage points to worry about, and that's where we're going to let Stevie do all of his calculations up there in that crew chief world that he lives in.
Yeah, and this is so unfortunate because we saw just magnificent racing, but the one good thing and another good thing about this car is the safety of it, and I think Parker has one of the drivers involved here.
Right, DJ catching up here, Daniel Hemrick, who's been checked and released for the infield care center. So what was your view of this massive wreck down the backstretch?
Not a whole lot, Parker. Just seeing it here on the replay. It looked like the 2 was out a little bit, and 6 didn't quite square up. Looked like with the 2, it kind of started the accord. And actually, the first thing I saw was debris going up, and we were trying to get the 3rd lane rolling there. Yeah, so just unfortunate. Proud of everyone at Circle Chevrolet. Really fast qualifying effort for us to put our 31 car in top 10, and hated turned out the way it did. Yeah, I only have, 5 more this Cup races, so I'm trying to enjoy every one of them. That's not the way you want them to end, but thought I had a hole and just ripped around the top, and just 2 came back up the racetrack at the end and caught me. So I hate that, but proud of these guys. 5 more. Go try to do something special.
That's the chaos of Talladega, Dave.
So Parker, down in the salvage yard, Chase Briscoe sits in his number 14 car, knowing that the rule is if he gets out of his car, then his day is over. They've been arguing with the track workers. They're trying to do the best they can to follow NASCAR's rules. Listen.
That Brad Moran, the series director, just told us that we would get a push back to our stall, and that's what we need. Not let them take you out of that race car. Do not.
They're saying that even with the air jacket, it won't move because it's so tied down at the back, and I can't get a push.
You tell them to push you.
I told them 100 times.
Put your hand over the latch and do not let them drop that window net.
Okay, Steve, you're the crew chief of the 14. Richard Boswell's doing his best, but boy, that 14 is stuck.
Well, there's 14 stuck, so let's go back. Basically what happens is when a wreck happens, if you've had any amount of significant contact that NASCAR is going to tow you to the garage, your day's over. If you've had little to no contact and you only need help back because of flat tires or you're stuck in the grass, then NASCAR has said they'll bring you back to pit road. The problem is that is kind of in the eye of the beholder. What's significant contact? What's too much contact? Now, looking at this 14, the left rear looks flat for sure. The right rear, the toe link looks broke. That is something you can change on pit road. But if the car itself won't push and they got to hook it up to a wrecker, what's their other options? This is something that NASCAR is going to have to look at for next year for this situation. One car at a time, it's pretty manageable. But with wrecks like this, Jeff, how do you decide who is in the wreck and who isn't?
Yeah, this is a very difficult situation, and as you...
Well, Matt, they've gone back to yellow, but there's still at least 3 cars parked down there and all kinds of safety equipment.
Yeah, you missed there while you stepped away an argument between Chase Briscoe and his crew chief. Chase was trying to say, I'm not going anywhere, I'm stuck. And they wanted him to be pushed, much like Chase Elliott is being, because, of course, if he gets out of the car, he's out of the race. So Chase Elliott is being lawnmowed back out of the grass and onto the apron.
Real
in the middle
quick,
of
Matt.
As you rightly say, we are now back to yellow. And
got you turned. Was there anything different you maybe could have done inside?
Hard to say. I mean, obviously incredibly frustrated. Yeah, we have a great shot to win the race, and just really proud of my team. The full execution of the day, being able to get that stage win and put ourselves in position at the front of that green flag pit cycle, and then have another shot. I don't know. I don't feel like complaining right now. I'm too pissed off, and it won't do anything. So, just probably, like I said, proud of the team. Brought some really fast race cars every single race of the playoffs, and we're gonna have to go bring another one next week and do my job.
You saw a lot of 4-wide racing today, 3-wide. Did it feel like something like this was brewing with the pushes getting more aggressive?
Well, I'd say the 4-wide and even the 3-wides a lot to do with a lot of the strategy side of things. And I mean, that middle of 4 stuff for I don't know how many laps it is. It's got to be some of the craziest stuff I've ever been a part of. But felt like we're in a great place to control there, and it's going to be between me and the 47 there, just trying to figure out when I was going to be able to get my runs and kind of mathing that out every time we came to the start-finish line. But yeah, like I said, a couple laps short and torn up race car.
Heartbreak for Austin Cindric and the 2 team guys.
Sure is.
Oh, I just mentioned not too long before that happened, though, Matt, when he was the leader, he's the leader of the playoff grid. When he dropped to second, he was -6.
Yeah, the fine lines we live in the playoff era at this stage of the game. So, of course, Austin will have another chance next week at the Roval, where he should be decent. We talked about him as Josh Berry now on the hook on the way back. We talked about Austin Cindric being always a potential contender at road courses once he gets to the Cup Series after some Xfinity Series wins. It just hasn't really happened for him, has it?
Yeah.
In the Cup Series on the road courses, it needs to perhaps happen for him next week, though.
Oh, it does.
Unless my eyes have deceived me, the lap count has just gone from 3 laps to go back up to 5.
Yeah. Yeah, the caution, the red flag was thrown with 4 laps to go, so this was always going to go to overtime. But like I said, I'm just surprised they put it back under yellow with still so much to do down there in 3 and 4. It was almost like no one was doing much of anything down there for...
I think we were just out of recovery vehicles more than anything else. Or
it might have been.
People that definitely weren't going anywhere, getting into various rides back to the care centre. So, oh wow, Joey Logano's right rear, he hit right rear to right rear with Austin Cindric, who was facing the wrong way, got absolutely torn out. I mean, massive damage underneath that 22 car once they get it back, which is, I believe, what they're about to show us on the NBC cutaway car, perhaps, or maybe not. Another man we didn't mention, looks like he's got away without damage, was Christopher Bell.
Let's see what we can hear.
This car is built and designed. It's designed for racing, which in this direction right here makes a tremendous amount of downforce. When the car turns sideways, it goes from race car to airplane wing, and the air is so fast over the top of it, and then the air is able to get underneath it that it lifts the car up and flips it over. So There's a great look at that fabric on the 22. It's kind of out of the roof flap right now, so you're trying to slow the air down over the roof of the car and reduce the amount of air going under the car. Changes, at least in this accident, seem to be okay. Still more racing to go, but thankful to see all the cars stay on their tires.
It became what's the words I'm trying to find here? It kind of took on a life of its own with Michigan and Daytona, Matt, happening on back-to-back weeks, and LaJoie flipping at Michigan, and we very rarely see cars upside down at Michigan. Then we had 2 airborne crashes at Daytona. McDowell's could have been extremely dangerous, and that's who we're about to hear from here is Michael.
Catching up with Mike McDowell, who led the most laps today. You were involved in that incident on the backstretch. What was your viewpoint?
I didn't have one. By the time, I was 12th, 13th at the time, and all I saw was cars spinning and trying to avoid it. So I didn't see what caused it or what started it, but unfortunately we were right in the middle of it and kind of got hit on both sides and thought maybe we could get it rolling, but just couldn't get it to move. So hated for everybody on this left shop stop Ford Mustang. Super fast again, had a lot of speed, but it happens at the end of these races. I mean, we just didn't execute what we needed to be in the front to miss it, and that kind of happens here.
Talk to me about how aggressive these pushes get late in these races, and how do you hold on to them when you get big pushes like that?
Yeah, when you get down to 5, 6 to go, you feel like it's coming. And where I was sitting on the racetrack, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to avoid this. You really want to be in those first 2 or 3 rows. And I don't even know where it started. It might have happened in the first 2 or 3 rows. But you feel better when you're up near the front. But yeah, it's just part of it at the end of these races, and you're pushing really hard. And you're just trying to get your lane moving. You're just trying to get some momentum, and just kind of along for the ride.
Unfortunate result, Dave, for Mike McDowell.
So Parker, if it's a right rear lower control arm, they are out. If it's a right rear toe link, they can repair it. Steve, the list of things you can do once you're towed back here like this is not an extensive one.
It's not an extensive list, but Dave, this is going to be pretty controversial in the garage area because the rule says if you have more than slight contact and you can't return to the pits, then you're Dave.
Okay, I've already had enough of this rule. We need to do something about it in the off season, and I got to say, we went on for decades, Matt. You get caught up in a crash, you go to pit road or you go to the garage, make the car raceable, make it reach minimum speed, and you can go on with your day. I don't know why we can't do that anymore. I know what it does is it puts damaged cars out on the track that's 50-some laps down, whatever, but that's better than this. This has become a mess.
Yeah, there's so much grey area for it now as well, so they definitely need to do something. We had the DVP thing brought in a few years back, didn't we, with the damaged vehicle policy clock,
which these drivers are still on, by the way. They are on a clock. 8 minutes now is that clock once they get to pit road.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cars here that are highly damaged and are still being recovered. Eric Jones is just being lifted off the racetrack in turn 3. I believe he's the last car to come back. Harrison Burton about to be dropped literally into his pit lane. So Chase Elliott being worked on.
Again, I'm not sure why they threw the yellow when they
so
still didn't have the cars cleared away. I mean, they still don't have Nemechek going back there.
Yes. Strange things going on. And we're also, the longer this runs, even under caution, we may be into...
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Fuel land again.
Yeah.
Just because we're running around under caution, when really we don't need to.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is we're making all of these laps. Heaven forbid we get another yellow and another overtime. Then we're bringing fuel into question.
It's not Bristol or Martinsville. 2.5 miles is a long way.
Yeah.
And we've done a good 4 or 5 laps under this caution. So I would have thought.
By the way,
At the very least, with some news to come.
Our friends at NBC are telling us that 10 of the 12 playoff drivers have been involved in some kind of incident today.
I believe Larson and Byron are the two that have not been.
So that would be Suarez early, Blaney at the end of stage 2, and then 8 in this most recent accident.
Yeah, I think they're going to count Logano and Hamlin as being involved in that one at the end of stage 2, though.
Yeah, and Logano also involved in this one. So he's
and Logano.
2 of them. And you're right about Byron and Larson. They're being scored 3rd and 4th.
Just ahead of Kyle Busch, I would imagine.
Yes. So again,
mentioned it a couple of times, and we'll look forward to next week at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Bank of America 400 on the Roval, a revised Roval.
Yeah.
It's a different layout this year, of course. They've taken out that sort of lumpy section on the inside of turn 1 and made some changes, which yet to be seen if it's made any difference, but coming your way on USRN and on JB Motorsports next Sunday evening to determine our round of 8 competitors, because we could still perhaps get some, much like last week with Ross Chastain, another non-playoff winner this afternoon.
Yes, very well could. So eventually, when we get this restart, Matt, you're going to have Ricky Stenhouse Jr. as the control car.
The leader.
And we're about to hear from Joey Logano.
Down the backstretch, did you know how big a run that you guys were creating there, and could you have done anything different?
I don't think we could have done much different. I mean, we had the bottom kind of working fairly well, and our timing got a little bit off a 2 from what we have been doing, and it got pushed from the 21 that transferred to the 6, and it transferred to the 2 just at a bad angle. Off he went.
Is there anything in terms of you guys when you were down there trying to get the car rolling that maybe you were trying to get going there? What stopped you from being able to continue?
It's a disaster down there. I don't really know what to tell you. Put inner liners in the cars, I guess. It's a disaster because everyone's just sitting on flat tires and wants to roll, but they can't because they're on flat tires. And we got this machine that's going to plug up the rear tires, or at least jack up the back of the car. But if you're flat on the front, you still can't steer. I'm going to stop now, but it's a disaster.
And guys, just listening to the team radio, they were pretty frustrated in trying to get that car rolling and the situation down there.
Well, yes, but there was the right rear was absolutely pulled out of the Joey Logano car from his contact with Austin Cindric, so he was going nowhere regardless.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was just about to say Stenhouse and Keselowski, Matt, being scored 1-2. Stenhouse is a former Talladega winner. He's won once here and twice at Daytona. Brad Keselowski is a 6-time Talladega winner. Then you've got William Byron, Kyle Larson. They've never won here. Kyle Busch has not, well, he won here last year, remember, in the spring. Christopher Bell. Oh my goodness, 28 cars involved in that crash. They are saying that's the most all-time in Cup history. That would be modern era
yes.
Cup history, because there was a crash at Daytona many years ago that took out, I mean, we're talking close to 37 cars here it was. 1960, it took out 37 cars, Matt. They started almost 60 in the race, and it took out 37.
Oh, wow. So to answer my own question from earlier on, Denny Hamlin did survive. He is being scored in the 10th position.
And in contention.
And the fourth, in contention, and the fourth of our playoff drivers still standing.
He's just not mentally in it.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, dear.
I think we're about to get one to go here as the field comes past pit in, which will be tremendous.
Yes, it will. Everybody wants
This is
this
a very long.
Everybody wants this to speed up for multiple reasons, and of course NBC does not want to go to 7 o'clock because they've got Cowboys and Steelers tonight. You know, those two don't have any big fan bases or anything.
No.
They would like to be on the air.
They want to get this done and do their post-race in the next 55 minutes if possible.
And of course, if they can, before that at 6:30 they got the news, which, you know, got us at Indianapolis, you might remember.
Fuel pressure is good, right? Yes, at the moment, yep.
That sounds like a nervous Rudy.
Well, there was a fuel conversation.
We're still not ready to go back to green. We are still in single file in turns 1 and 2.
Again, they lifted the red so quickly with so many cars still on the track.
Scattered.
It just didn't make any sense to me. By the way, in the live standings, William Byron is plus 74 here, Matt. So
he's pretty much locked.
So with that
if he
being
stays where
said,
he is.
if he can stay top 5, he just about locks himself into the round of 8. As we again go down to DJ and JJ.
You know you've got another shot at it. In most instances, you're happy you weren't caught up in the wreck. But then you hear your crew chief's voice and the concern about fuel, and then you start stressing all over again. So it seems like that's what these guys are fighting with right now.
Yeah, and as you run more laps under caution here, yeah, you're using maybe half of what it would take to run a normal lap, so that's only getting worse for them. My experience, too, late race restarts, after big wrecks, you think, okay, everybody's going to be a little more calm here. Not the case whatsoever. Going to be the pushing and shoving is going to continue, correct?
I totally agree. I'm not sure what the odds are, how to place a bet right now, but I would bet that there's going to be another caution, and this is going to go again.
Back to you guys.
Dale Jarrett certainly knew how to win here at Talladega. His last win was here in 2005. What was a wild race. Multiple cars upside down. Michael Waltrip and Scott Riggs. By the way, we said that big crash with all of those playoff guys in it, Matt, would help Ryan Blaney. Before the crash, he was plus 12. After, he's plus 25.
Ooh, okay, well, that certainly has helped him. We're about to get our 13th overtime finish of the season, which is a new record, and we are about to because we are at the Choose. So 2.5 miles away from attempt number 1, at least, to finish this race off.
Need someone to do the math.
I'd like to see what the lap count ends up being by the end of this race.
Be the first 200 lap race in Talladega history.
The Yellowwood 5:27.5.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever run 200 laps here, but we're getting there. By the way, you said 13th overtime race of the season. I would like someone to go through, and that someone might have to be me during the week, how many actual overtimes we've had this year, because remember we had 5 at Nashville.
5 at Nashville, yeah.
How many did we have at New Hampshire?
3, 2 or 3.
So what's the record for number of actual overtime attempts?
Overtime attempts.
Yeah. All right. They went through the Choose, and it's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on the front row, again as the control car, Matt, with Brad Keselowski to his inside.
Second row will be both the Hendrick cars, I will imagine. Yes, William Byron to the outside of Kyle Larson. Then it is Kyle Busch on the outside of Christopher Bell. And Eric Jones on the next row with Austin Dillon. Come on, buffering.
Yes, no kidding. Picked a time to do that.
Nah. Here we go then. Pace car about to peel its way towards pit lane. And we are about to resume after a fairly long stoppage and caution to get this race back underway at Talladega to see if we can find ourselves a winner, Matthew Owens.
Well, let's hope we can get through it clean. See what happens here with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Brad Keselowski on the front row, and hopefully everyone will be good on fuel as well, being that that has apparently come into question with all of these caution laps here that has taken place here. So here we come to overtime. Keselowski and Stenhouse on the front row. Oh, dear. So they've taken the green flag, and the field is off to the back straightaway with Stenhouse being pushed by Byron.
Keselowski off the front bumper of Larson, tries to go back to the inside and does so in the middle of turn 3 to the inside of Stenhouse.
And Keselowski getting a push from Kyle Larson as they come into turns 3 and 4. Kyle Busch, third car on the outside line. Christopher Bell pulls up behind Larson, and here they come to the main straightaway. Looking at the white flag, if they can get here. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Brad Keselowski, door to door, white flag. This will be the last lap at Talladega. Kyle Busch from third on the outside. Comes up, moves to the outside of Eric Jones, who fills the hole. Busch can go nowhere. It's Keselowski and Stenhouse, nose to nose, off of turn 2, down the back straightaway. Byron and Larson in row 2. Byron pushing Stenhouse. Larson pushing Keselowski into the back straightaway, into turn 3. Keselowski with a nose in front. Big push from Larson. Brad Keselowski goes to the lead. He was nearly the winner here in the spring. Can he get to the line first here? Ricky Stenhouse charges back topside. William Byron pushes him alongside Keselowski through the tri-oval, coming to the checkered flag. Byron goes high. Stenhouse tries to block, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has won at Talladega. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. gets to the line first, and he's the winner of the Alabama 500. He just edges out Keselowski and Byron to the line, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has won again on a super speedway. It's another photo finish at Talladega. It's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. who wins it. Byron popped out late, got close, but Stenhouse holds him off. And Matt, William Byron, he just went a bit too late. If he had gone 200 feet earlier, it may have worked for him. But it's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. who wins.
By a very small margin indeed. From Brad Keselowski, yeah, you're right. Byron just comes up short. Where, Skinner replays, they headed to turn 3. Larson got Keselowski out in front. And that may have actually been to Brad's detriment in the end, because he had to come back to Larson, whereas the Jones, Byron, and Stenhouse queue on the high side got the run, and that got Stenhouse in front as they headed past pit in, and Byron gave him that extra little shot before trying to go for it on his own. He just comes up a whisker short. If the start-finish line had been 100 metres further towards turn 1, Brad Keselowski would have got there.
Matt, this season has been defined by close finishes and breaking long winless droughts. We just did them both in one race. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. breaks a 65-race winless drought with a win by 6 1/1000ths of a second over Brad Keselowski at Talladega. All hell has broken loose right at the end, and Stenhouse has won this race. And in a big cloud of smoke, he climbs out, jumps out. It's his 4th career NASCAR Cup Series win. 2 at Daytona, now 2 at Talladega.
With Ricky Stenhouse, who wins at Talladega.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, sweet.
Woo! Boy, Ricky, 6/1000ths of a second. What was your take on that final, really half lap?
Felt really good. We had our, Chevy teammates behind us, and I was hoping Kyle wasn't going to push the 6 that hard. I knew the 24 was probably going to try and, get to the line there, but man, this team has put a lot of hard work in. Obviously, we haven't won since the 523, and it's been an up and down season. It was a lot of hard work this season, just trying to find a little bit of speed, but we knew that, this track is one of ours to come get. So for all of our Southern Mississippi people, appreciate y'all coming. This means a lot, winning here. Got to say, we're thinking about everybody in Western North Carolina. Brad Doherty, his family, right where he grew up there in Black Mountain. A lot of people are struggling. I wish my wife and son Stetson were here. They didn't come this weekend, but I'll see y'all at home. And man, what a day! Just proud of this group, the whole Kroger, Palm Olive, NOS Energy Drink. There's so many people. Sunny D. There's so many people that help this. Campers Inn, and man, there's just so many great product partners in this Kroger program, and glad to get him another win.
Yeah, Madison and Stetson didn't make the trip, but what do you think that hug's going to be like from the big guy when he's back at the track, Brad Doherty?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. I'm looking forward to going to North Carolina and helping the cleanup. We're working on that now with Team Rubicon to go out there and help clean up. So looking forward to that. This win's really, really special.
Boy, what a finish. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. gets back to victory lane here at Talladega, Lee.
Awesome performance and lovely dedication too to those people who are suffering. As we bring you the updated points, and why is William Byron highlighted in yellow, fellas? He advances to the round of 8.
He advanced with points. He didn't take a win. Bell has to be feeling good, as well as Larson, Hamlin, maybe even Bowman, but then it starts to get very tight down there around the cut line with the Roval next week.
Ryan Blaney had to be sick when he got in that wreck early in the race, but then that late race wreck kind of saved him a little bit. Easy, Ricky, easy.
Oh, man.
And remember, you see how tight those points are. Do not forget, the Roval is new this year. There are a lot of changes to it, and there are a ton of unknowns. A lot of drivers have been looking at it, checking it out, and there are some high nerves about what it's going to take to get it done next week to get into the next round of playoffs.
Did our man just climb over the fence and come down?
Come all the way to the flag stand, Matt.
Saw Joseph Newgarden do something similar at Indianapolis. But Stenhouse is up and over the top into the flag stand. We've never seen that one before.
And now, oh geez, he's what a mess. Get up, get down to the opposite side of the fence. My goodness. Well, the man from Olive Branch, Mississippi, the winner today at Talladega. And as we've talked about, on we go to Charlotte next week for the Roval, and a race that is going to be super intense with points at a premium. And we'll try to get you the live standings here, or, well, the unofficial standings as it is now. Of course, NBC's going on a very quick off to get to news. Can't even get the playoff standings before they get out of town. So bear with us as we try to get that for you. But, Matt, what about, what about final thoughts and driver of the day, he said angrily.
Tremendous race for 95% of it until we had the crash there at the end, which kind of spoiled the ending in many ways. But I mean, that four wide stuff in the first stage, that will live with me for a long time, because that was madness. But thinking about the winner, he was up there in that final run. He survived the crash, took a fair whack in the door, but from Cindric, but survived and ends up out dueling one of the best here, Brad Keselowski, and two of the big playoff contenders coming from behind in Kyle Larson and William Byron. So I know it's a bit cliche, but I think the driver of the day is, for a change, the race winner, and that's Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Yeah, he was up front when he needed to be throughout the race. Not all race, but when he needed to be throughout, he was. And he gets how to do this. There are some drivers that just understands how to run these drafting tracks better than everybody. Everybody says it's a crapshoot, and there is a lot of luck involved. But this is a talent, just like penalty kicks in soccer. It's how I've always compared it to, Matt. It can be a bit depend on some luck, but it's also a skill, and it's also a mentality. And that's what we see from Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I mean, you look at Michael Waltrip, right? He won 2 Daytona 500s, a Daytona July race, and 1 race at Talladega. That was his 4 career wins. Well, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. now has 4 career wins, a Daytona 500, a summer Daytona race, and 2 at Talladega. Some are just better.
I have the points if you'd like me to run through them.
Please, being that NBC could not wait to get off the air, and I'll cue up some music for you on that.
As you may have heard there mention, William Byron has advanced on points to the round of 8. So we have 11 guys going for 7 spots next week at the Roval. Christopher Bell is 57 points to the good. Kyle Larson is 3rd, 52 points to the good. Denny Hamlin plus 30. Alex Bowman plus 26. Ryan Blaney ends his day plus 25 after his early accident. Then it's close around the cut line. Tyler Reddick plus 14. Chase Elliott plus 13. On the outside looking in, going to Charlotte on Sunday, Joey Logano 13 out. Daniel Suarez 20 out. Could have been a lot worse for him. Austin Cindric 29. And Chase Briscoe 32 points outside the cut line.
And that, of course, is the points heading into Charlotte at the Roval next Sunday here on USRN, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, the provisional time that is always, as always, subject to change. Well, like you said, Matt, it was a good race, really, from start to almost finish. I feel like we've had a lot of those this year, and that's what kind of keeps you feeling empty at times, is that you get such great races, and then... But maybe we say we're just happy we didn't get multiple overtimes and absolute craziness at the end, although there was some craziness at the end. Woo, Lord. Anyway, but it was a fun race, Matt. We hadn't done Super Speedway, just the two of us. Matt squared. That was fun.
It was really, really enjoyable, made better by the fact that it was a really good race, and it sets up next Sunday very nicely indeed.
Yes, it does. So, that will do it for us today, USRN and JBM. Oh, goodness, what a day at Talladega. It's always just so wild, so crazy, so unpredictable. And it's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. who comes away with his 4th career win, his 2nd at Talladega, denying Brad Keselowski of a 7th Talladega win by just 6/1000ths of a second.